that will be reported on.
He now is on his fourth attorney, and the attorney that he got now, he's a pretty famous homicide attorney or murder attorney, or whatever you want to call him. He defends a lot of murders, and he defended a guy I know that a guy I know. His sister was murdered, and no, his sister's boyfriend was murdered by this guy, and this attorney that he got today got that guy off, and I was shocked. And he
What's the
got
name of the attorney?
Is it Billy Clark?
no, it's no. Billy Clark got fired today.
Okay.
Hold
Kevin
on.
Hayes. His name is Kevin Hayes.
Kevin Hayes, yes, Kevin Hayes. He's a tall, skinny guy with a long face and a long beard thing, and he's real skinny. You don't think he's very powerful. You look at him, and he looks like a wimp. Because I went to the trial, and he's pretty powerful, and he's one of those guys that talks Texan and then just stops and pauses before he picks it up. He lets people think about what he just says. He's very dramatic, you know. So he got a good lawyer today. He really did.
Are you familiar with
All
the
right, real
judge?
quick, guys. Real quick, guys. All right, guys. Once again, welcome to Debate the News. We are open on both platforms, guys. And once again, guys, if you're listening to us at home, make sure you guys download the Chatter Social app. Chatter Social. You can download it at the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Do that. Also, up top, guys, on both platforms, what we have is we have, believe it or not, we have the links, the podcast links. So what you're able to do is you're able to actually download the podcast. Okay, guys, we were here all last night, and we're here. There's another one. And this case is very interesting. And so, if you want to listen to last night's episode where we had everything, I mean, this is like it was heated discussion. It's like a 7 hour discussion. So we broke it up into three podcasts. You guys can download that. Hit the link up top, and you guys can download that. Also tonight, for you guys for everyone that's speaking, you will be able to hear yourselves tomorrow on tomorrow's podcast. Once again on Debate the News, there you are, and they're available on every platform. It's iTunes, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Overcast, iHeart, all of them. Tune in, you name it, Pandora. Wherever you listen to your podcast, you guys can download the podcast. We're speaking about Carmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf. Where should justice land? What should justice look like? We have two high schoolers at a track meet. And one of them, one of Austin Metcalf, was wound up dead, and he wound up dead as a result of an incident that he allegedly had with Carmelo Anthony. So, with that being said, folks, feel free to jump in. I mean, we're definitely here to have the discussion. We're just getting started, man. So, if you're down in the audience on any platform, all right, raise your hand, come to the stage, guys. We definitely want your input. We would definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. We will be inviting you guys up, but it's open mic. It's open mic. So, let's have the discussion. Anyone wants to jump in? The stage is yours. The mic is yours. Before I do that, um, Joe, you were saying that they're having a hearing on Monday, correct? And guys, and
Yeah.
Joseph is a commentator and moderator for Debate the News True Crime. Joseph, let us know what you have for. What do you have? What information you have regarding what's supposed to be taking place on Monday?
So it's going to be 9 a.m. They're going to be doing a bail hearing, and his lawyers are going to request that they reduce his bail from $1 million down to something lower. So I'm not sure how that's going to go, obviously, but we will see on Monday because I'm sure they'll be reporting on it.
So they have a bail reduction hearing, correct?
Yes.
All right. So once again, a bail reduction hearing, guys. This is really consumed the nation. This has consumed the nation.
It does not
Uh,
consume the nation.
Actually, it has, Grant. I'm glad you're here. TC, are you here, TC? Okay, TC's not here, but yeah, it has, Grant.
It hadn't
Go talk about
consumed TC either.
it. So why?
Oh, you should have been here earlier.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. He'll be right back. He'll be on the right side tomorrow,
Did it
Grant.
consume TC?
Yeah, it did.
TC's in the audience.
It did.
It
TC's
did.
consent. Is he a Democrat again?
Yes, he is on this.
Sound like he was
Even.
trying to get the black card back.
And he was preaching. He preached. He preached the whole sermon, Grant.
We might let him back in.
Hey,
But
Jonathan, you got to
Disappointed
use
your
that
ass,
laugh more
Grant.
often, Jonathan.
Yeah.
That laugh is great, dude. You need to use that more often.
That's my regular laugh, Grant. What are you talking about?
No, the one before that. The one before that was much better.
No, that's my regular laugh, Grant. You guys don't
You
give me much to
called it,
laugh.
JB. You called it, though.
You guys don't give me much to laugh about, man, when we're here fighting. Oh wow. Now, really, guys. No, so anyway, Grant, what are your thoughts on this, man? I mean,
My thoughts on what?
oh, you're not familiar with the case. Don't worry about it.
I just left the UFC fight.
Oh yeah. How was it?
It was unbelievable, dude. Trump walked in the room, people went fucking berserk.
Yeah, it's a bunch of
Fights were
yeah.
great. My boy Mike Chandler got his ass whooped.
Yeah. So like the UFC is like filled with like it's like infiltrated with a bunch of MAGA people now, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They fucked that. They fucked that UFC all the way up. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, I'm sitting there minding my own business. I'm sitting there minding my own business, and a guy walks up to me and says, "Bro, can I get a picture with you?" I says, "Sure, Zach. Let's get one."
Sure, Zach. Who's Zach?
Zach Efron.
Look at you. Let's do it.
He's like, "I'm doing a movie, and I want you in it, bro. I'm doing a documentary, and I want you in it."
Look at you, Grant.
Go ahead,
I said,
Grant.
Check this
"Said
out.
let's go."
Hey, look, I'm curious. I'm
Yeah.
curious if this whole thing would have went as live as it did, right? If both of the boys that was in this altercation, if they was the same color, either color, if they was the same race, would this thing be such a? I mean, I'm sure it would have hit the news because the kid got killed at school, right? But would it have went the way it is if they was the same race? Would we still be having the same discussion at the same level?
Good question.
I don't think so.
I think we would. I mean, we see school shooters. Hmm.
well, not as this intense though.
No, it won't be like this. Look at Alabama last year, spring break, where a kid went to a Tuskegee, opened up with a machine gun, killed one, injured 61. They're black. Nothing
Yeah.
happened. Nothing. It won't be like this. If one white person would have got shot, then yeah, we'd have got public. We'd all over the news.
What do you
It
think
won't
the
be the
difference
same.
would have been? What do you think the difference would have been had Austin stabbed Carmelo and their roles had been reversed?
It would have been all over CNN, everything, NBC, everything. Everybody would have it.
I don't know, man. I'm a father, and I see my son. So I have boys and a girl, right? And either boy's position, I see my son being in, man. And so my heart kind of goes out to both of them, like whether we're right or wrong. I hate to say that because we're everybody on the stage is an adult, and we make mistakes on a regular basis and are fools, and and children even more so. You know what I'm saying? They're predisposed to be clowns because they ain't even figured it out yet, man. And so this whole thing is sad, but I hate that. I hate that the conversation doesn't end up being about parenting, doesn't end about school reform. It doesn't end up being about things that are something we can actually do something about. Cause we can't change what happened in that tent. We can't change how either one of the boys felt. None of that stuff. It just ain't nothing we can do about it. But um, you know what I'm saying? Like all the things we can do something about, nobody's really talking about. Not really.
We kind of who is that over on CH? Who is that was just
Oh,
speaking?
Mysterium one, yeah, Mysterium.
Mysterio. We kind of touched on it, but not too long. But we did touch on that because I asked the parents. I'm not a parent, but I did ask the parents like, what conversations are you all having with your children after this?
I did see an article where Austin's dad said something in reference to what kind of parents raised a child like this, or something like that.
What,
That's
what,
been reported so far, and I think
what
it.
type
Yeah,
of?
I think it definitely wouldn't have gotten as much press if they were of the same race, especially if they were both black, probably. Especially not. But I'm seeing a lot of polarization on social media that is definitely based on race. People have come right out and said it, and using epithets on top of it. So I think it's definitely a driver when it comes to when it comes to social perception. It seems like people are really locked in and taking sides, and all the facts of the case aren't even out yet. But what I find interesting is that some of the same people that I'm aware of on social media who understood self defense, they understood stand your ground in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, and then also in the Daniel Penny case, which Daniel ended up getting promoted to a job that he's not even qualified for. Um, in other cases, they got self defense, but there seemed to be no room for that in this particular case, and from some people's perspectives.
I wonder what it is. I just can't put my finger on it, right, Madison? We just don't know what it is, huh?
Yeah, you know,
Well,
I'm a,
Carlos and Madison, and to the room, like I'll be honest, I did not hear, and maybe because I just read the story first, I did not automatically throw race into it. I just thought it was a case of bullying.
you must not, you
That's
must not be on X chat.
girl, nah. I don't be on
Okay,
there.
yeah.
I
TC
don't.
threw race in it.
Huh?
TC threw race in it.
Well, he was preaching. That was before Grant got in here. We got to come up with a name like
so check it out though.
PGC or before Grant.
Check it out though.
BGC. Uh-huh. That's the
Here-
version of TC we got. But I didn't until I saw people comparing stand your ground law, and then I understood why, but I didn't automatically go to race. And I live in a county that is we got our issues out here. I'm not gonna lie. So, but I didn't automatically go there. I don't know because to me, I just saw that there were two children that one of them felt like they were being bullied, and they responded right, and they defended themselves and they tried to protect themselves, and he stood his ground. Now, when race got involved, I did totally understand why there's comparisons, like with like I walked through the whole Trayvon Martin thing and all of that, why there are comparisons made. But as far as demographics go, I've heard it from my niece and nephews, and maybe because we're in the burbs, right? But I'm hearing the younger generation not necessarily focusing on race as much as we are, as much as we do, because that's how we grew up, right? Generation, I'm a millennial, or Generation X, or baby boomers. We were more inundated with race. And do y'all think that, the younger generation, do you think that they saw it that way, that it was racially charged? Or do you think that it's the older generations that are putting that on that situation?
That's a good
Uh,
question. What I did see was there was a lot of outrage that people were raising money for Carmelo Anthony, raised over 300,000, but there was no. I didn't see that same outrage when all the money was being raised for some of those other from some other murderers.
Yeah, I think this, right? Like, and I don't, I just, struggle to understand why people don't understand this, right? All that doesn't even matter. That part of it, with rate, with the whole, whether, what sparked the interaction between or the conflict, right? That doesn't matter because whatever it was, right? The stabbing doesn't raise to the point. It's not to the point where it's a justified use of deadly force. It doesn't even matter. The rest of that, like I'm talking from the view of the law, man. It doesn't matter. Somebody bullying you, somebody bullying you, the racial component in that part of it, it does not matter. You know what I
So
mean? Because his use of deadly force, it doesn't, man. It's not justified, man. The Texas law is extremely clear about the justified use of deadly force, right? And it differentiates the use of force and deadly force, right? And so there is no version of it where it would ever happen where that's going to, save, a video coming up or something where the other dude had a knife or, something like that. But other than that, a threat talking, you know what I'm saying? A threatening, I'm going to beat your ass because of this, because of that. Man, that does not matter, man. That is not a justified use of deadly force. And I don't even think that's not even going to play into it. Now, where the racism comes in is when they impanel a jury
yeah,
because it's going to be very hard for those folks in Collin County, which is 10%, 11% African American, 50% white, 16% Hispanic, and I think 20%, Asian, primarily, primarily Indian, right? You know what I mean? It's going to be very, very difficult for them to impanel a jury, right, that sees that young boy in a sympathetic light. That as a young boy, as a good kid who made a bad decision and a bad choice. That's where the racism is going to come in right there. Is how they view the defendant, but not
facts.
but in the actual stabbing. The man, he was illegally, man. They ain't got a leg to stand on.
Real quick, brother. My thing is like going back to it, like as a parent, right? And I'm looking at both of them young men as if they was my children, right? Because either way, you would either have to be talking to your dead son's soul with tears in your eyes, or you'd have to be talking to your son who is now incarcerated, facing life in prison with tears in your eyes, right? And that's either way, right? Because it would be a different conversation for each one of them. You know what I'm saying? On one hand, it'd be like, boy, you need to mind your own business, man. You putting yourself in a position you ain't even here no more, right? Was it worth it? And the other side, it's like, man, that boy is dead. Was it worth it? Everything that you wanted, you was fast, but you can't even run that far now. It doesn't. Was it worth it? And at the end of the day, on both sides, it's a no thing. It's a no thing because it's ego on both sides. There's no way to pull it, man. And so I don't know. I don't know. I think there's big conversations here, and unfortunately, in reality, it's not a race thing. It's like a failure in the school system, parents, us as a country, how we fallen so far. And let me even restate that how we ain't figured out yet, right? The right conversations to have because we're still caught up in the same old stuff. You know what I'm saying? We can't even grow yet because we are still immature as a whole.
Yeah, I would,
But
and I'll say again, man, like the interaction, yeah, it could have been based on, race, some type of, racial language, man, derogative, the white boy could have called him this, could have called him that. I mean, you don't know, but my point is this, that's not even a factor in the legal part of it. Because, just say the white boy called him all upside his name and say, "Hey, man, I don't want your black ass over here." Hell, if he said that and the boy stabbed him, hell, that's not justified under the law. And so that part of it really it doesn't even matter in terms of the legal part of it.
For whoever just spoke on Clubhouse, I got a question for you. You're saying about it not being about race. What do you think public perception would be if the tables were turned and there was a white kid sitting somewhere, and he was approached by a black kid, who then proceeded to touch him and then proceeded to grab him. And if the kid responded in the same way that Carmelo did, but if it was a white kid being approached by a black kid, do you think public perception would be different?
Yeah, it would be different. You know what I mean? But yeah, it would be different. I mean, and anybody who says it wouldn't is a fool. Just lying. You know what I'm saying? Of course. Big black bad. You know what I'm saying? You know, black kid from the ghetto listens to rap music and all day. You know what I'm saying? Attacked the poor innocent white boy. Yeah, that would have been the narrative. But but legally, hell, if it would still be a difficult mountain to climb to say that someone, grabbing you in your collar, slapping you upside the head, right, put you in that kind of thing, that there was a reasonable fear, that you were in a reasonable fear for your life. See, that's the part. It's not all the other stuff. It's not. See, Texas, justified force and justified deadly force are two different things. Like if he had a jumped on the board, beat him up, or whatever, they got into a fight, we wouldn't even be talking about this thing, right? But the fact is, man, is in legally, people talk about, oh, Texas is a stand your ground state. Of course it is. It's castle doctrine. But the thing is this: you have no legal you don't have to retreat in Texas, right? But this is the thing: the bar still has to be is what it did whatever go on justify the use of deadly force. That's the hurdle right there. Because no, you don't have to retreat, but you can't kill somebody for talking shit or threatening to fight you or even grabbing you in your collar or slapping you upside your head. You can't kill somebody for that.
What I find interesting is that very thing, particularly when it comes to law enforcement. You've got these big, muscular police officers who are armed, who use, I was in fear for my life when it comes to unarmed people all of the time, and use deadly force. Try grabbing a police officer and see what happens.
Yeah,
It's acceptable
Yeah,
for them to
yeah,
do it.
but that's
but
but yeah,
he's not gonna
y'all
he's
read
not gonna kill you with a knife though.
y'all ought to read Texas law. Y'all ought to really read it, and as it relates to the use of deadly force, even by peace officers, the standard is a little different.
But respectfully too, though, even when a law enforcement does it, it's a cowardly act, and it is seen as such. And anybody that has like, you know, any, and I don't mean in a religious aspect, but any righteousness in them, any objectivity to them, can point it out as such. You get what I'm saying? Like I hate that this thing is a race thing, and simple. Just because had it been two kids of the same ethnicity, it would not be the same conversation, man. It would literally be we need to teach our kids better. That's simple. On both sides, it don't matter,
Yeah,
and
I'm
that's
not
just
the.
that part.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just that part, man. Unfortunately, it is polarized, and because it is polarized, it's an emotional thing. But if you look at this objectively, you know what I'm saying? Take out the race of the situation and look at it. It's a whole different conversation. And the police to do that are cowards. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not pushing back on that the police are cowards, but I'm not pushing back at all. Yeah, I agree. But see that this is the point where I'm saying, right? Like no matter how people feel about it, man, the reality of it is, man, that boy has an uphill, man. He's climbing Mount Everest butt naked, man. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to be very, very difficult, right, to prove justifiable homicide in that case, man.
Let me
I
say
mean,
this.
I don't even think that that's going to be the defense. Personally, I don't. Who knows, right? And I'm talking about based on what we know now, right? About it, man. Man, listen, man. Uh, the fact is that part is going to. I think that, man. I think the defense approach is going to be to get that thing dropped to a manslaughter and maybe plead out on a manslaughter. and
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, and try to get him the least amount of time, right?
Like,
Because man, it's going to be hard to get you taking that to trial, and that's if a murder indictment comes down. We don't know if that's going to be the final charge. It might maybe manslaughter, right? We don't know because they're not going to go in front of a grand jury. They say until around the end of June. Sometimes that's what they predict, around the end of June, right? And so just say murder is the final charge, man. Man, I don't see what type of defense, how, and I'm talking about legally. I'm not talking about the way I feel about it or the way, I don't see how they would mount a defense that was justifiable homicide. I don't see it.
No, hey, look, okay, I can dig that, right? Because that's what I was saying earlier. I don't think there's any legal standing. This is what I can say. Like going back concept to the concept of how I feel. I feel like if they give that young man the death penalty, they're wrong. I feel like if they give him life without parole, they're wrong. That's a 17-year-old kid, man,
He can't,
or a young
can't
man.
get
They
either.
can't do that.
Yeah, he
No, no,
can't
no,
get life without parole.
no,
That would be on a capital offense. He
no
can't get
facts.
life.
Just wait. Because I'm with you. I agree. What I'm saying though is at the end of the day, this is a young man, man, who did something wrong. Even if you feel like he was justified in defending himself, right? There's a kid that's dead, man. It is now that this guy's gonna fight for his life. You know what I'm saying? If Texas State, I'm in Oklahoma, right? Texas just south of me, and they hang people here too. They'll try to send you to prison forever. That's what they want to do. But if they give him life without parole, that's wrong, man. That's a child. Even you look at this as bad as it can be. You know what I'm saying? He's not no serial killer. He wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like this whole thing of it, right? Right.
He an adult in Texas law.
No, that's
In
facts.
Texas
But
penal law, he's an adult.
hey,
He's
that's
an
facts.
adult.
But he can't buy cigarettes and he can't buy beer. But hey, but
About
but
a,
listen.
No,
the
we
law
talking
looks
about
at him
penal
as an
law.
adult. As an adult, man.
No,
Yeah, penal law.
I understand that. I understand that. I understand that. But as a like respectfully, do y'all have children? Because I assume most grown people do, right?
I mean, you arguing something that's totally, this is a totally different argument, right? What we talking about
No,
is
no,
Texas penal law
no. Yes,
says
sir.
that at 17 years old, you can be charged as an adult. And I
Yes, sir.
understand that. I have
At
children, and I
14 in
understand.
Texas.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that. I have empathy for children because I have a child. But that
Yeah.
Texas law is what Texas law is.
No, I understand that though. But that's what I'm saying though. But I am speaking more to the philosophy of the thing, brother. It is that if they hang this kid, man, because like, look, he's a child, regardless of what the law says, right? He's not grown enough to buy cigarettes. He ain't grown enough to buy beer. He can't even go to the strip club, man. I'm just saying to you, if they go out of their way to hang this young man, in whatever their way they do, they are wrong. That's all I'm saying, man.
But
They're
but
gonna
but
have to prove intent. That's what they're gonna have to prove. That they're gonna have to prove that he intended to kill this person.
Right? That's facts
he,
though.
but even that doesn't that's not the bar for murder in Texas. That because they didn't charge him with capital murder. Capital murder carries life without parole. So he's not facing life without parole. That's not even. But I man, listen, on a murder charge, man, they may hit him with. Man, if he goes to trial, who knows, man. But he may get hit with 30 years, man. I see it somewhere between 10 and 30 years. At the lower end, if they can on a manslaughter, if they can get it down to manslaughter, I see 10 years, bro. Up to 30 years. I don't see a version of it where that boy doesn't go to prison.
If they can get a change of venue, I think that will definitely affect the outcome.
That's damn near impossible.
Well, most cases that do get a change of venue is because of adverse publicity, and this case certainly has gotten it.
One of the gentlemen mentioned parents, maybe something to talk about. But when you have a kid that raised in a nuclear family, father, mother, you have sisters, and you raise them properly, I mean, what more can you do? And these two kids were raised the same way, And as again, he has a high GPA. I mean, he's in sports. So how do you then try to justify that?
Okay, the parents may need to be looked at, or is it just a general statement that you're making?
Yeah, but we can't say that because we don't know how that child was raised to resolve conflict. Those two parenting styles may be very different in regards to how they resolve conflict. So we can't say they was raised the same way
Well,
in regards to
I,
Camel-
I
parent.
can look at I can
Camelo's
look at
parents were
I
together for 17 years and are still married, while Austin's parents divorced when the kids were 5 years old, and they've gone on their separate ways. And his mother has got a boyfriend, but or I don't think she's remarried, but I think he lives with them. And so they weren't raised the same at all. While Carmelo, he had a mom and a dad that been together 17 years that were, and even before that, they were married 17 years and they were together quite a few years before that. They're from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And Carmelo, really, the high school that the houses that feed into um, Centennial, where he went to school, are a lot more expensive, a lot higher end houses than the ones going to Memorial. It's a higher end caliber school than the other one, even though they both are. And here in Texas, too, one other thing, if they get a change of venue, it's going to go to someplace like Abilene, West Texas, somewhere, Midland, Odessa. You don't want to send this out there. It'll go over to Longview, East Texas. You don't want to send this trial over there. They won't put it in a big metropolitan area where the courts are already crowded and everything else like that. They'll send it to someplace like that, and that's not where you want it. Then
I mean,
that's usually what happens. We see these cases, watching on the news. You see how they're changed over to these other mid-sized towns, and that's not where this case needs to go.
Yeah,
I
I
heard
understand that. I understand that, and it's raising the kid in the house with two parents and whatever. The other guy was had separated parents. That's fine. It doesn't really matter to me. How you're raising your kid to resolve conflict is the bigger issue. One of them carries around a weapon. The other one doesn't. He's bullying people. He's beating people up. The other guy has a weapon in his backpack. So we got to look at that part of the situation.
well, just listening to some of the big man, listening to some of the people talking tonight, they would have expected that their kid to fight back to a bully, whereas others would have said walk away. So there is a difference in the way people are looking at this, and that means that's the way they're raising their kids.
Well,
so
sometimes too, it's not just how children are raised. Sometimes it boils down to a level of communication. When you hear some of these parents on the back end of some of these tragedies, some of them didn't even know what was going on in their children's lives. So in order to respond to it, because think about it, you may have a set tenet of the way that you raise your family, your children, but with things always changing in terms of timing, in terms of the times that we live in, the things that you taught them when they were 5 years old, certainly not the same when they're 15 or 17. And so that there needs to be a constant, checking in terms of what's going on with you. Because if he felt compelled to carry a knife with him, why would that be? I mean, that's one of the questions that I have in my mind. Why are you carrying a knife in the first place, especially if you're in a community that's deemed somewhat safe? What's happening in that community, what's happening in your life. And apparently, maybe that conversation never happened.
Yeah, I think to me, and who knows, right? But I think he was being bullied, just in general, right? He probably was a young, kind of timid kid, being bullied, and he probably decided at some point, hey, I'm gonna put a knife, I'm gonna carry a knife on me. And, I don't know, I'm gonna just assume it, right? And that so I'm not gonna let anybody mess with me. You know what I mean? I think that's what it sounds like to me. But who knows, right? And I don't think that his intent was to kill the dude. I think his intent was to pull out a knife and kind of get the dude to back up. That kind of thing. I think he was a young dude. young kid that just made a bad decision.
Look, I'm gonna
And
say,
they
and
might have got the drop on
And
him.
you know that's what I. What'd you say?
real
They
quick,
might have got the
respect.
drop on him one time before. He might have got caught slipping.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
And
respect,
I think he was probably bullied. Yeah,
yeah,
and, yeah,
respect.
not by that dude necessarily, but just by in general.
Hey, look, respectfully. Like I started carrying a weapon, and again, I'm saying like I'm talking to my sons, man, because look, I started carrying a weapon young, and both kinds of weapons. You know, what I'm saying firearms and knives, right? Real. And I just get it out the way. I'm blind right now because I got shot, right? Just to keep it 100%. Just get it out the way. I'm blind because I got shot, right? That was the world that I lived in. Now, I don't know his circumstance, and I also know it don't matter how much houses cost. That don't dictate what's really going on around you. You get what I'm saying? So we can get all that out the way. You know what I mean? First of all, but just speaking to that,
I only,
speaking.
I only said that because somebody said that he was from the ghetto or something, and
Well, no,
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 they
no,
weren't.
I
who
understand. No,
said
I
it?
understand.
Oh, in this room,
Somebody
somebody
said,
said that.
Well, no, look, I
I
understand.
don't know.
That's not my.
Somebody said that one kid was from the ghetto and the other one wasn't. Well, that's
No, he
not
said
true. Somebody had
possibly.
said that
He
earlier,
said possibly.
and
Oh,
I'm just saying that no, that's not how it is.
well, earlier they were saying murder for profit. Somebody had said that.
That's wild.
So
This,
they don't
this my
say
whole,
that.
That's crazy, man.
this my
It's
whole
crazy.
point. This my whole
Too.
point. Unfortunately, wait. This is my whole point. And I'll land. I'll just get out the way. This is my whole point. Unfortunately, we can't really know what's going through either young man's mind. We don't know why that boy had the backpack. I mean, had a backpack with a knife in it. We don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's all speculation. Like but again, I think the real conversation he's gonna go to jail. I don't see no way around that. But the real conversation is how do we stop this shit from? I mean, this stuff. How do we stop this stuff from happening in our schools? You know what I'm saying? That's the real question. Because it's not metal detectors at track meets and pat downs. It's not that way.
Co-host Taylor's asking to be brought
So
up.
why does he have to go to jail? We've already seen similar situations
Oh, but
with
well, no,
guns,
he's gonna go to
and
jail because
people
he's
didn't
in
go to
Texas.
jail.
He's in Texas. He's gonna go
Texas
to
or
jail.
not,
I mean,
he's going to go to jail.
yeah, he's going to go to jail. If he does not go to jail, then there's a hallelujah and an amen to be said by a whole lot of folks. But he's in
So
Texas.
it's a miracle for him not to go to prison,
Oh
man.
yeah, yeah, he's in Texas, man. He's in Texas. I'm in Oklahoma. I lived in Texas for a short period of my little brief childhood, and everybody that got in trouble went to jail. It's just what it is. And if they give you a chance, it's because what you did, was this little. Because if they could send you to jail, you was going. TDC and all that is your destination if you playing any kind of games out there. They don't care, man.
I think it's really unfortunate, man. But this is just a really unfortunate thing, man. And but yeah, I mean, the reality of it, I think there's a save a miracle, or something coming out that's just completely changes the narrative. Hey, man, I don't see that boy not going to prison. Now I think the thing is how much time he gets.
Hey,
That's
can y'all hear me?
that's really I think at this point, well, I mean, who knows? But just based
Can
on
you
what's
hear
going
me?
on now and what we know now, I think that's the fight. Is how much
Well,
But
time he can
but
get.
Big E. So what by you saying that, do you think that the court should be empathetic to a person who commits this type of crime?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, my feeling, or the jury, or the court, yeah, because I think he was a good kid that just made a bad decision, and now somebody and some that led to loss of life. Because I
Now
don't
this,
think I mean that's honestly what I think. I think he was a good kid, scared, timid, and just made a really really bad decision, man, to pull out a knife, to carry a knife, and then to pull out the knife. You know what I'm saying? And that led to that other boy losing his life. But yeah, and I don't think. Yeah, I think the court should see him in a sympathetic light. I look at it in a from that perspective, but I don't think that the court is though. I think that's the thing. The court may just look at that boy as a murderer.
so
now there
Biggie, you
was just a
I'm
case
basically
in
wondering.
Fort Worth, Texas, where there was a similar case where a friend lunged at another friend, and the guy stabbed him. And this just happened this year, and the guy got off this year. The stabbing happened in Fort Worth in 2023. His friend lunged at him. His name is Escamilla, his last name, and he got off.
So the
I
lady
wanted I
that's
wanted to ask a question just about parenting because we were talking about that, and I've talked before on this stage about outside influences outside of parenting because I don't think that has been explored in this situation, and I'm trying to think when children behave in a certain way, I think it's important to ask where did you get that idea from? What did you watch? Who told you that that's the way to do it? When somebody, I think, a Big Daddy, Big Back or something, you talked about the conflict resolution skills, and I'm just trying to think where do people learn how to handle what's going on in their life? The algorithms that you watch on social media, the what you listen to, the music, and all of this stuff that you listen to, does that play a part into how you are going to resolve your situations in life? And let's remember, teenagers are trying to find independence. I have a 16-year-old son. In fact, I was out playing soccer. We had gone to watch the game this evening until almost 9, and he gets picked up by different friends, and of course the team is um, you all mix, is this white, this Latino, it's all sort of, and they all pick each other up and drop each other off and all that sort of stuff. And I was thinking, gosh, I mean, does anybody here have a knife? I mean, what would happen here if somebody pulled out? It's kind of scary because I'm thinking this is the same age group. So how are they making their decisions about how they handle each other if there's a fight? And we do go for soccer matches where one team is like, they'll rag on the other team, but it's friendly. There isn't that level of, somebody sticking out a knife to stab somebody else. So I'm just trying to understand what this child sounds like. He came from a decent family, but I'm trying to think, where did the ideas come from? I know he was bullied, but I'm trying to think in a track meet. Surely, if he didn't have the knife, because that's my first problem, is there shouldn't have been a knife. If he didn't have a knife, there probably would have been blows exchanged and the adults would have come and stopped it and a life wouldn't have been lost. Because I'm just thinking of the twin brother holding his brother, seeing him die. That's so traumatic. It didn't
Well,
have
that
to.
that too is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it didn't have to go that way. So I'm just kind of coming back as a parent and thinking about what are the influences that our children are getting, and are we aware of how their thought patterns are changing and becoming, because they spend a lot of time on their phones, whether it's playing games or whether it's how they chat. I don't know, but it's just another angle to this whole story that we haven't explored yet. I don't think so far. I mean, I haven't been here in the whole conversation. It's been 2 days of having this conversation, but I'm just wondering about that.
Well, I mean, we kind of talked about, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I do find it interesting. I think that even coming to blows is also problematic because people have died that way too. So when you talk about conflict resolution, I think also Austin, had he been taught to assert his boundaries without aggression, which is what you teach during conflict resolution, it could have just stayed verbal. I think you made some good points, but I think that that also goes both ways.
I hear what you're saying about it could also end badly, but if when he said, touch me, then if he didn't have a knife and the guy touches him and then they throw a blow and then there's people around them who are like, hey, we'll try to pull them apart or stop them. And I think the school might decide, what, we shouldn't be having this happen in track meets. Something we need to put in place, some sort of structure to avoid, this escalating. But at least it would have stopped at like maybe 2 or 3 blows. I mean, maybe it wouldn't even have gotten to that point because the verbal exchange would have gotten the attention and the adults would have gotten involved.
One thing we have to come to a realization is that we can be as great a parent as we want to be, but in the end, you're raising an independent individual, and the person's going to do what that person wants to do. And he made the decision that he was going to carry a knife, and I believe because he probably been bullied before, So I mean, the thing about it is that what we're trying to do now is, and I understand why it's being done, is because society has taught us this. Is the fact that when it's a young person of color who commits what we consider to be a crime, we want to automatically look at the parents. Where did the parents fall short at? Where did they make mistakes at? And sometimes it's not the case. You got parents that raise their kids the right way, give them everything they need, put them in the best schools, and they still turn out to be damn serial killers. So, I mean, I think is that, hey, I mean, we got to stop trying to look at the parents, you know, and understand that, hey, this was an individual who took an act on his own. And for whatever reasons, we'll find out about why he did these acts in court. So let's not try to, demonize the parents.
But there's a part of there's a part of it too in these discussions that I'll say this, like conflict and among kids, right? Bullying, all that, man, that stuff is a part of growing up. And there's this, and I'm not saying killing somebody, right? So the point is this: I think a lot of people have this view or have this this hope or this view that the world somehow is going to be a place where that kind of stuff doesn't go on. Kids picking on kids, kids getting in fisticuffs and things like that. Man, that is going to happen. So you teach the children how to navigate that kind of stuff. But these folks are, and so when the child gets into a situation like that, the child doesn't make a decision that's going to cost them their freedom or going to, destroy the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? And I think it's just that simple. All this, like, hey man, listen, if somebody messes with you and you get in a fight, hey, let me go in here and teach you how to box. Because
Yeah,
that's probably going to happen at some point.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you, Biggie. I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Bullying is definitely going to happen, and you just got to navigate it properly. I just disagree with Carlos because Carlos, it's not. I mean, you got to you got to do your best job as a parent raising these kids, especially nowadays. You got to be very active and involved. You got to check bags. You got to go through the phones. I mean, it's like a crazy job that it's crazy. It's not like back in the day where they had like simple tasks. You just do this, do that. It's very complex now, and
So
and
we get into some shit.
it's
We used to
no
get
no
into shit now. Come on now.
no we did. No, I'm just saying. I'm not. I just disagree that some of the parenting skills that you could put into your child don't rub off on them. So if I explain to you how to handle a conflict, how to get out of a situation, I have to depend on you to make the correct decision. You see what I'm saying? So if you're not having these conversations with your child, of course your child is going to make these mistakes. You can't A child who's not getting that type of nourishment and nurturement, my bad, nurturement and having those type of conversations. I can't say that these type of things not going to happen, bro. That's all I'm saying, Carlos.
So, I understand what you're saying. But we can't act like now that we in our 30s, 40s, and 50s that them damn teenage hormones didn't take over. And
There
we
you
were
go.
out dealing with them damn teenage hormones. Come on now.
Yeah, but I
100%
will
true.
say that I side eye parents of bullies. I'm sorry, I just do because kids don't usually just wake up mean. Sometimes if there's aggression in the home, sometimes it's emotional neglect or just unchecked entitlement. And if there's no guidance, or even if there's parents who try to take too much control, kids learn how to survive, and some kids are trying to reclaim their power. They learn that shit. They learn how to dominate, and I just don't. I remember cruel kids, and cruel kids turn into cruel adults as well. And I just find it very problematic. It's something that needs to be nipped at the bud, either at home or in the school, because we know what bullies can do.
And let me
Yeah, and I'll just add, just to agree with what you're saying, Madison, and also even what you said, Carlos and Bigman. I think we can agree as a parent, you do what you can, but at the end of the day, the child is going to do what they're going to do, and that's that. And there's a saying that says, and trying to, if you don't learn it at home, you learn it in the world. And so, I'm looking at this young man. My heart also just, it was just a bad decision, and it's going to cost him a lot. It
Yeah,
was
that,
an, I think it's an impulsive decision. It was a bad decision, and the cost is huge. And I feel for the parents as well because they're looking at their son. You know, all you've tried to raise your son well, you've tried to do what you can, and that's a decision that they made. And as a parent, you're also going, your heart's going to bleed as well for your child. You know, and for the other parents who have lost their child, you know what they're going to go through as well. It's just tragic any way you look at it.
yeah, but
And
like
we
the
a
sister,
generation of survivors. I mean, we come from a generation. I don't know, Biggie. You probably come from the same generation. When it was summertime or weekend in the morning, when you got up, you had to make it a
outside.
point because when you go out, when you hit that door, you can't come back in the house, and you be gone all day. And we learn that world now. Today we can't do that with our kids. We can't even let them go to the damn mailbox by themselves now because of the fact that all the shit that's going on in the world. But we came up, and I think the same stuff was going on back when we were coming up. It's just the fact that we just knew how to navigate it and deal with it. The other day, the ice cream man was in the neighborhood, and he wasn't playing no damn music. Since when does the ice cream man come in the neighborhood and that music ain't going? And I got on him and said, "Hey man, are you being a creep around here? Because you ain't got your music playing." He was trying to give me some mumbo jumbo about the sound thing being messed up and all that. But I'm like, dude, you the ice cream man. Everybody's in the house. Nobody know you out here. So why are you creeping?
But too, I remember, man, back when we were growing up. Well, when I was growing up, like it wasn't no, like I heard the sister before speaking. I don't know. I think her name may be Madison, and she was saying about the violence at home. Man, boys and even girls, right? Man, growing up, man, they're gonna fight. Somebody's gonna try to, you feeling yourself. You testing the limits. You're learning boundaries and stuff like that, man. Kids are gonna fight, man. People, have scuffles, right? You never, and that's just what it is, man.
Steve.
Like, we used to go outside and we'd be playing football or something, playing something outside, and somebody will, it'll end up in, oh man, man, you did this, you did that. Oh man, oh, okay, you think you tough. Let's see. You can get out there, man, you slap box, chest box, even man, box for real. And then it's done. You back to the game. You resolve it. But I think that the trying to avoid that kind of stuff and teaching children, hey, that's not a part of growing up and teaching them how to navigate that stuff, but kind of taking a view like, oh no, go find someone in a position of authority. Go find an authority figure and you tell it. That's that, man. That's the weakening of children. Because now you have children that don't that can't navigate that kind of adversity. They think that, oh, this is something that doesn't happen. I have to respond I have to over respond to this thing because no one is supposed to violate me or say this, and that is a part of growing up. I remember parents would, like, when we would grow up, right? Like, you get into a little disagreement with another kid, man. Your parents like, man, y'all go work that out. Y'all go figure that out. Y'all may wrestle a little bit. Okay, man, we cool. Y'all have to figure it out.
Hey, big man, I
Yeah,
agree
yeah.
with
If I could
you.
respond real quick, because he was talking about what I said.
No,
Yeah,
I'm just saying that.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did say that about bullying, but you're correct. Kids are gonna fight, especially boys. They got hormones going, peer pressure, identity, just figuring out who they are. They want respect, all of that. All I'm saying is, in terms of the bullies who continue to do that, that's a different power dynamic. And all I'm saying is, fighting is a language that some kids just grow up with, and that does start at home, I believe.
Hey, just real quick. The only thing about carrying a weapon, and like I mean it, when you pick up that weapon and you choose to carry it, there is a reason for that. And when you pick that up, there's thoughts that run through your head. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't. Most of us don't do things without thinking. So I know, speaking to my experience, when I picked up my weapon, I knew what it was for, and I knew how and why I would use it, or at least I thought I did, right? Like that part. So that's a whole nother aspect of this conversation, because bullying is bad. No, no, I mean that's just not okay, and everybody has to learn how to fight. That's all. That's nature. It's literally nature. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like okay, my phone started talking. My bad. But there is intent to carrying a weapon. Like it's grown folks in this room. I'm sure they carry a weapon on their hip today, every day. Think about when you pull that weapon out and you put it in that holster or you tuck it in them jeans or wherever you put it. What flickers through your mind? You know what I'm saying? And that's you as the actualized adult, if you are that. You know what I mean? And it's a child carrying a weapon. So those, I mean, that needs to be considered as well. Because I hear bullying, because that is a part of the conversation. Yeah, kids shouldn't be no bullies. But also, most people don't just carry a weapon and say, you know what, if somebody attacks me, I will protect myself with that, and that is it.
Have you ever heard the statement before when certain people are told, one time you're going to run into the wrong one? You're going to run into the wrong one and it's just not going to be good. Have you ever heard that said before?
Oh yes, of course.
Yep.
That means something.
Yes,
You
it
know,
does.
that is a warning.
I just find it interesting today when TC was in there, and there was a group of people, a big group that was pretty much was found that he would go free. That the basis of uh, standing his ground was good enough. Now we're saying he's going to go to jail for some time for whether it's a plea or whether he's found guilty. And the people before that were finding him guilty, like TC, were saying that they would expect their child to fight back against the bully.
Well, I mean, I think some of that is some of us don't believe in the legal system, and I believe with good reason, you
Yeah,
know.
agreed.
And I think based on the last thing that you said too, that I think fighting back is one thing, but stabbing somebody is another. And I don't know that I can't see somebody teaching somebody that. That's like I have heard people say if somebody hits you once, you better hit them back twice. I've heard things like that, but that's within this reasonable amount of get back.
Oh, so
Yeah.
that's the thing, between the use of force and deadly force. Yeah, young Carmelo, man, should have hit that dude in his jaw. Messing with me, hey, man, and she should have socked him in his jaw. And when a fisticuff, man, we wouldn't be talking about this right now, most
Or
likely,
maybe you ain't want
right?
to fight that
But,
linebacker,
but,
man.
but the point is
Maybe
this.
you ain't want to fight
Okay,
that
but
big
yeah,
ass white boy.
that's cool, right? Okay, cool, right? But check this out. If that boy gets convicted of murder in Texas, he's going to a maximum security unit, and he's going to have to fight in there to survive. So so trying to
That's a fact.
and he ain't gonna have a choice. Like what I'm
He gonna
saying?
have to
Is that
fight for it. He gonna have to fight for his butt.
you know what I'm saying? And so I mean, there's no way to sidestep the squabble. You can't sidestep the squabble in a place. I mean, in a scenario like this. Okay, man, you don't fight, and you don't fight initially. Now you facing a murder charge, right? Now, if you get hit and all of that goes through, and you get convicted of that, man, you go into a place where you have to fight, and there's
Well,
gonna be dudes.
at least he
There's
know how to
gonna be
use a
dudes
tank.
in there, and there are dudes in there bigger than that linebacker or bigger than that
At
white boy.
least
The
he know how
white
to
boy
use a
wasn't that
shank
big.
though. He got a shank. He can have a shank in there
Oh
too.
man, come on. You know what I'm not gonna even go. You know what I'm saying? Prison is a hellhole, man. You know that.
Yeah, but that don't mean he was thinking about that though. He's 17.
I think he
He's
was thinking about
17.
it, but the point, I think he was just a good kid that made a really bad choice. And he didn't, I don't think he, I don't even think, man, I don't think that even really registered with him. And this is my opinion. I don't think it even registered to him what happened until he was sitting in that jail cell. I don't even think it registered like what he had really done and the seriousness of where it was at. I don't even think that even really kind of settled in his mind until he was sitting in that jail. And it may still, I figured by now he's probably, oh man, this stuff is. Wow, but I don't think he intended to kill that dude or even thought about it in that way. I think he just thought about, man, let me get this dude up off of me, man.
When you
Right?
talk about navigating, fights and learning how to navigate life, I think in our community, with the prison industrial complex being what it is, we definitely, I believe, need to teach to stay away from it at all costs. Don't do anything
Absolutely.
in there, because once you in there, baby,
It, that
they try to hold on to you.
that
They waiting for you.
that's my only thing, Madison. That I 100% agree with you. We gotta teach our kids how to navigate these conflicts a little bit better. I ain't saying that fighting is bad. Absolutely defend yourself, but listen, man. You gotta violence is just you gotta have a zero tolerance for it, man. If you can avoid it, you gotta avoid it, because when you get older, you can't just keep fighting. You can't fight everybody at work. You can't fight. It's just you can't. It's going to lead you down. And I'm speaking from a guy who used to fight all the time. Violence has violence has corrupted me. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to teach my kids how to navigate properly. I'm trying to get myself in a better position in society. Violence is just not. I mean, absolutely defend yourself. I'm not saying don't defend yourself. What I'm saying is, if you could get out of a situation and it not escalate to it being violent or somebody getting stabbed or shot, please go the other way. That's all I'm saying. Let's think objectively, because like when you get older and you get these good jobs, you can't go in that office trying to smack somebody because you disagree with them or because they say something to you. You have to navigate it in a way, a tactful way. You have to use your words. You have to go through proper channels to handle your conflict. So let's start teaching them early so they get better at it as they get older. That's all I'm saying.
But a part of that, you said you learned, you know, as an older man. I'm an older man, and I used to fight when I was younger, and that's how I learned that fighting is not the most
It
the
ain't
most
it, bro.
reasonable way. But
No, it got me in a lot of trouble, bro.
but
It got
but
me,
but,
and I'm
but
still,
that's
I'm still, I'm still paying the consequences of
but
all that shit on my record.
so
Like it haunts me to this day, Big E. That's what I'm saying. So I
what I'm
have to
saying.
try to go
But
ahead.
you learn that through going through the gauntlet. Man, there was a brother that said on Clubhouse one time, and I agree. He said, man, what the problem with the one issue with a lot of these young folks is that they never hit anybody in the mouth, and they've never been hit in the mouth. Man, listen here. You learn that from these scuffles when you're young. That, hey man, that just because you're mad and just because you think you got squabble, man, there's always somebody out there, man, that can whoop you, get the best of you. And so, like a lot of times, it comes like in school. You learn, like, say you had a bully, right? Say somebody was bullying you, and you hit them in the jaw, and then y'all are out there fighting. And say that happens maybe 2 or 3 times. And after that, man, both of y'all kind of learned that, hey, man, I don't want to be fighting this dude every day. I don't want to be messing my
No,
clothes up.
it's not.
And
It ain't even
hey,
that. It ain't even that, Big E. Not sorry to cut you
no,
off. It ain't even
no, I'm
that.
talking about
It's
us
that.
young folks,
No, I'm saying
young
the
kids.
consequences that you get from fighting, being suspended, going home, being
Oh,
expelled. Now I have to go to an alternative school. Was it really
But
worth it? Me
what
going?
yeah.
That's
I'm
what
not,
I'm talking about.
but
The
it doesn't necessarily.
consequences.
But yeah, I'm just saying the consequences of fighting are you probably gonna get hit, and you hitting
Uh,
somebody. What I'm saying is just for little kids, man. Little kids learn that real quick. Like, man, I don't want to be fighting every day at school, man. Messing up my clothes, getting socking up somebody, and somebody socking me up, and we going back and forth. So, hey, and so then when you're a child, man, hey, man, let's squash that. Let's be cool, man. What
What
kind of toys you got? What kind of comic books you feel me? Those are some of the ways children learn how to navigate conflict and resolve conflict. But if you sitting around and you are scared, right, of a fight, and I'm not saying this is the only cause. That's when kids start picking up weapons. Oh, want to, pick up guns and knives. I'm gonna go kill because I'm scared, or I don't want anybody touching me. As far as a fight or anything, I'm scared to get physical. You know what I mean? And I think in that case, hell man, that was a young, timid dude. Hey man, that boy probably ain't never been in a fight. Let me
But
ask
that's
you
that's
something,
but
B.
what I
I
was
don't know.
saying,
That's my opinion. I'm
Big E,
not saying that's a
Big
for
E,
fact.
Big E.
Well,
But what
Big,
I'm saying, what
they did have a fight before previous to that.
Did he?
No,
But
that's
but
They
false.
did.
That's false.
but I want to say what I want to say to Big E is that I understand your sentiment, but what I'm saying is you have to, if you doing that, you got to teach the consequences at the same time. This is what this young man is about to learn is consequences when you get yourself into those situations. There's consequences. Okay, so there's cause and effect. You do this, this is what's gonna happen to you. Was it really worth you punching that dude in the face? Was it really worth you stabbing? Was it really worth it? Because now you got to pay. Because my mama always used to tell me all the time, "Hey, once them people get a hold of you, ain't nothing I could do."
But
That's what she always used to
I
tell
think
me.
you're missing my point. What I'm saying is the consequences don't always of fighting don't always go up that high. What I'm saying the consequences of fighting is, man, you gonna be in a scuffle. You gonna hit and get hit. You know what I'm saying? And so what I'm saying is when children are young, man, we learn that like, man, there was a brother, man, that when well, I don't know what grade we were in, I don't know, ninth grade maybe, right? We had two or three fights. You know what I mean? And the dude, and it was, they came out about even, right? And at a certain point, yeah, we just said, man, we ain't gonna be fighting every time I see you, and every time, man, we not gonna be fighting, man. Hey, man, we cool, man.
Hey,
Let
Adrian's
me
had
ask
her
you guys a
hand.
question. Let me
Get
ask you
what I'm
guys
Adrian's
a
had
question.
her
saying?
hand up.
Let me ask you guys a question. Are you talking in the
Hey,
perspective of a
Jocelyn.
grown up or a
Adrian's had
perspective of
her
a
hand up for
No,
a
I'm
teenager?
talking about
while.
kids, when children, when
But
we
you,
growing
I
up.
mean, in your response, are you talking in in a perspective of a grown up or a perspective of a teenager?
No, I'm
Because
talking about kids, children.
as you said, growing up, you didn't have this perspective of what you're talking now. So when a
No,
kid,
no, you missing what I'm saying. I just said what I just said was like fighting, like when you were fighting, like as a kid, right? And you fighting folks and all of that. I said kids learn that too. Like, man, I don't want to be fighting every day. And I gave the example of the boy, me and him used to go back and forth in ninth grade. That after a couple of fights, like, man, I don't want to because every time, hell, because you in a fight, hell, you gonna get hit, you gonna hit somebody, and kids learn, man, I don't want to do that all day with you or go back and forth with you. Hey, man, let's be cool. And you resolve the conflict
Hey,
okay,
as
hey,
children.
and let's
hey,
fast
y'all got to
forward.
let Adrian in. She's had her hand up for a long time.
And let's fast forward till today. Is the kids of today's generation the same way like how we were growing up?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
the
know
No,
if you
same
I
stuff.
don't know if you guys are hearing, but someone interjected twice and asked if Adrian could speak, and they've just been spoken over. Can we let Adrian in if that's the case?
Come on up, Adrian. I you.
thanks, Cherie.
You're welcome. Is that? Isn't that what you said, Scoop?
Yeah, yeah. Adrian's had her hand up for a while,
Oh,
and nobody's paid
maybe
Come
no
on
it's
up,
real attention.
Adrian.
maybe it's a mistake. I'm not sure. I was just trying to help out, guys.
Adrian, you got something to say or not?
I think that's a glitch from earlier. I think she was talking about that earlier.
Okay, okay,
A school worried
Oh,
about Adrian making him look bad.
okay. Let's go on. Y'all can keep on with the conversation. I
My
just
apologies.
No, you good, Sheree. They didn't know.
So at the end of the day, I mean, we're talking as adults when we look back because these youngsters in today's world, they weren't thinking with logics. They're not thinking about okay, what if? They're thinking about the now, my friends, my peers. I mean, I have an 18-year-old the same way. Um, he just started college, 4.3 GPA, homeschooled. All my kids are homeschooled. I'm not, and I brag on him because when he crossed over into college, I mean, January he's now a sophomore. So if something was to happen, I mean, I'm going to say, hey, I did everything right. I did everything right. So what happened? Because I check in with him pretty much on a daily basis. How was your mentals today, buddy? I mean, I call to make sure he's good because he grew up fighting karate. right? And one of the things I tell them is to take a step back before you take the step forward, because they might judge you as a weapon. He's what, 6'2", 6'3", 250. So take a step back before you step forward. I teach him that, but at the end of the day, I mean, he's going to do what he is going to do because he has his own willpower.
Well, you know what? I think you're on to something, because when you just said that, something just clicked for me in terms of, and something somebody said earlier about the generations are different too. That younger folks, some of them think that we're in a post-racial society and they're just hanging with their friends, and yeah, I've had my kids do this, say certain things in that manner too, because one of them, as a matter of fact, until he got profiled by Karen in our neighborhood and followed in the car and told that he didn't belong there, he was kind of oblivious to those things too. And when Carmelo said something about, I was protecting myself and may have used the term self-defense, I can't remember. I read the report a couple of days ago. I don't, I agree with Big Man in terms of the consequences. It's like, oh, you thought you was just going to be able to use self-defense as a defense. I think that there has to be a level of self-awareness, but also situational awareness in the things that we face on a daily basis. And
Well,
some of our kids, we insulate them from that to a certain degree, but they
well,
still got to get out here in this world, and the world is the way that it is.
well, Kyle Rittenhouse, in the same sense, he said the same thing. So
But
what's the difference?
but each city is different because let me tell you about Atlanta. Let me tell you about Florida, Orlando, Miami. Them youngsters are packing, and I'm talking about knives. I'm talking about switches.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
see, y'all missing the point. You can't go out into society and do violent things and not expect a consequence for them.
Kyle
That's
Rittenhouse
why.
did.
That's why I asked Big E. Would he feel sympathetic towards this guy that made this decision?
I,
Would you feel sympathetic for him after he?
Yes.
No, absolutely not, man. And you killed somebody. There's no way. There's no. Listen, bro.
I do.
If somebody killed your son, if somebody killed your son, would you feel empathy for them? Would you say,
I mean,
"Oh, he made a
yeah,
bad choice"?
the
He,
father
he
did.
I mean, I'll be hurt, but I'll have to accept it.
no way, no way.
What do you think I'm going to
The
do?
father forgave
Go
the
over
young
the
man.
kid's house and mow down everybody in the house? No.
No,
Hell
I'm not saying.
no.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying react. I'm
So what
saying.
are you
I'm.
saying?
I'm. I'm not. I'm not. Listen. There are consequences for your actions. Okay. Okay. So if you do something, there's a consequence for it, right? Just like if your kid went to school and he didn't do homework, or if he did bad on the test, you get a bad grade, right?
Correct.
So if you go out and you do something violent, right? There's a consequence for that. Maybe you get suspended. Okay, you
That's
do this
correct.
again. Maybe you do it again. You get expelled. Now you're at an alternative school. These are consequences.
But
Yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
And
I
the
would feel
so,
devastated, of course, if that had happened to my kid, but I would also feel like somewhat of a failure that my kid literally thought he could just walk up to somebody and grab them. That is
thank you, Madison.
crazy to
Thank
me.
you. Thank you, Madison. Because it seems like I'm talking crazy, but I'm just trying to I'm just trying to talk objectively, because I don't want to be on the negative side, because we could say a whole bunch of negative things, but I'm trying to develop a solution so we could try to come up with an idea to stop this type of thing from happening and continue to happen, because everybody wants to perpetuate that violence is good and violence should be in the community, and defend yourself and
At
whatever, and
at
go ahead.
all times, um, you know, violence should be avoided unless somebody puts their hands on you. Even then, if you could, there's a way to escape. Um, you should take that path most definitely. But I think people fail to realize that. You look at the opposite side of it. Kyle Rittenhouse, he killed two people, and I believe injured one other person, and he's out free today. Um, so why shouldn't this young man have that same um
Well,
possibility to be free?
but he
What's the difference? He shot somebody he shot two people at a protest. And I believe one more if I'm correct. Um, and this young man, you know, which I see it might be hard to defend in court. The use of force was it needed? Was there an escape? This and that and the other. But you know, on the same other side, you know, Kyle Rittenhouse. Why? It's like, you know, I think people forget these are kids. You know,
but then he went through due process, and this is due process that Kamalo is going through. He have to go through due process.
but this is the same country
No,
that
but
you know.
Rittenhouse lawyers did a very good job of establishing self defense because there was a lot of camera footage on the actions that he took.
That's correct.
But this is the same country talking about due process. You know, this is the same country that you know. It's sad to say, that more times often than not, depending on where you're at, as a black, especially as a black man or a black person, um, you're looked at as guilty before proven innocent. Um, you're looked at as a you know, in the interview of the mother, they called the child a man. They called him a man. Now he's 17. I don't remember being 17 and being a man. I was a young man, but I wasn't a man. Um, I think there's two different scopes when it's compared to, you know, um, whether it's, you know, it's sad to say, you know, saying whether you're white or black. It's two different scopes that you're being looked at under. So I think we have to also remember that as well.
Yeah,
You
but
might not be a man, but you do something wrong, your ass going to jail.
yeah, that part. I
Most
think people.
definitely, most
You gonna
definitely.
learn about that in jail.
I think
Hello,
people
hello.
just hang people hanging this on trying to tell, you know, your kid, man, you tell your kids, man, hey man, don't, you know, if your kids are prone to, you know, some kids are more, you know, prone to fight than other kids for whatever reason, right? You know, don't be fighting. That's not what you do. You emphasize the consequences. Yeah, we had the baby, and she's 9. Well, she'll be 9 this month, right? Her and her homegirl, they in third grade. Her and her homegirl tried to shake this other little girl down for a smelly pencil, right? And it was you know some it wasn't any violence involved or anything like that. But then you know she got in trouble for that at school, and she got in trouble for that at home. And see the thing is right is emphasizing, hey, your decisions have consequences. You know, there are consequences to whatever decision you make, whatever you decide to do. There, you know, a pencil, I guess, you know, it has a little scent to it. You know, when they, you know, some kid stuff, right? But anyway, you know, that your whatever decision you make, when you decided to involve yourself in that, because what happened, the little girl did something in class that she wasn't supposed to do. They saw her and they said, well, we're not gonna tell the teacher unless if you do this or do that. Give us a, you know, and that was just, you know. And so we taught her, hey, man, there are consequences for that kind of behavior. And you're not going to be able to duck the consequences. So you choose to do that. This is what comes with that. This punishment, et cetera, comes with that. So you choose whatever you want to do. But just understand that when you choose to go a certain way or do a certain thing, you're choosing the consequences that go with it. And you can't sidestep that. And I think, and when you fight as a young, you know, as kids, that and parents navigate, you know, help their children navigate through those conflicts and understand what that is. Yo, man, that's how you teach kids. You can't tell us, man, y'all don't fight. If kids are gonna fight, they're gonna fight. And I'm talking about little, you know, when you're growing up and say, hey, and then after the conflict is you know plays out, then you talk to your kids. You have a discussion with your kids. Now, how you feel about that? Well, this and that, you know, yeah, y'all got into a little tussle. You got, you know, you got punched on, you punched on them. How you feel about getting punched on? I didn't like it. Well, that's what comes with fighting. And so if you don't like to get hit in your face, you know, then what you need to do is you need to find a way to resolve whatever went on without fighting. And I'm just giving just a general, just a broad example, but it's that kind of stuff. A lot of these kids have not been taught to resolve conflict and the consequences of conflict. If you've never had a fight, you don't know the consequences of fighting. And better that the kids have it when they're young and do that when they're young, when the stakes are not as high, rather than as an older child where the stakes can end up like what happened here. And you these kids, man. So kids, say, hey man, hey man, hey man, I'm not gonna fight you, man. I'm cool, man. But those are kids that understand that, man. Hey man, fighting ain't the best option.
Yeah, we teach consequences, and we also teach consciousness. In that we let them know everything that you just said, and then also at the same time, what type of human being do you want to be? What's going on with you? Where is this coming from? Like you said, have that conversation after that as well. And then it has to be age appropriate. Kids are still developing, so they're gonna make mistakes, and then hopefully they will learn from it, and hopefully we can teach them the mistakes that we may have made. I mean, I was the type of kid, all you had to do was tell me, and I'm the same kind of adult. You tell me don't go over there because you had a badass experience, I'm not going. I don't have to test the waters. I like learning from others. I want all of my mistakes to be new ones, not the same thing that somebody that already did in front of me, and you see what the consequences are. I go back to the days of Scared Straight. I remember when that show came on, and I think I was too young to watch it, but I tried to sneak or whatever. But they showed those kids the consequences, and I remember that show resonating with a lot of us. And they show the first 48 now and show you not to make a statement, and then you see the same people making the same statements over and over again. It's like they got the show so you can navigate some of this stuff. But yeah, those are some of my random thoughts right now.
Sometimes, but people are overprotective, and what I mean of their children, people don't want their kids the same thing. This goes into a lot of different areas, right? People don't want. Yeah, your kids are gonna fall, but it's not whether they're gonna fall or make bad decisions or not. But it's when you're there to guide them through it. And if your child, if you overprotect your child, or if you're overprotective of your child, I'm not talking about letting your children run wild in the street, but like saying that if you think that your kids are going to navigate life, and like say for instance they get into a conflict out in the yard, two kids, say I don't know, these kids 10 years old, and you run out there and y'all better not fight and this and that. And let those kids have that little squabble. Don't let it get too. It's not going to get too out of control. Break it up, and then talk to the children.
Mr. Big, do you know that a
Can I
lot
say?
of
Okay,
kids don't
sorry.
experience that?
What'd you say?
Do you know a lot of kids don't experience
But
that based on?
that's what I'm talking about. But all kids have conflict. But these days, parents want to save children from conflict and don't want to and want to save them from conflict instead of helping them and teaching them how to navigate through it.
Okay,
In my
That's a
opinion,
simple point,
kids.
man.
but I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying today is kids don't go outside to play, so they don't experience the conflict that they should have
because you don't
experienced.
because you don't allow your children to go outside and play. When you go by these parks, for instance, man, these parks are filled with kids out there playing. So if you have your kid, not you personally, but if someone has their children sitting in the house, not saying, hey man, turn off the TV, man, get off the iPad, get off your phone, and we going outside. Man, if you don't, that's a part of what you need to do as a parent.
Which is true, but I mean, the neighborhoods that we are in, like I'll just use me for a reference. Kids don't go up and down the roads.
Take your kids to the park. Take your kids to events, to areas or things where there are other children where they have to interact. Because the
And
only way that they're going to learn how to navigate conflict, from petty conflict to even more, the little more serious things, is they have to be interacting with children.
okay, so I would,
Just admit the truth, Jotha. We fuck these kids up. Just admit the truth,
no,
man.
it's no, no, no.
Cause
I we
the shit that was taught to us, we didn't pass down, man. We got these kids shielded and sheltered. They can't handle emotional crisis as well, and they just emotionally unintelligent.
Okay, so I only can talk
Yeah,
about
you
my
you said that.
and
You
my,
said that.
who my kids are associated with. So again, my kids are homeschooled. They have their extracurricular. My son fight karate from since he was 3 years old. My daughter, my first daughter, she's in gymnastics from since she's like 3 years old, and she's now 14. The oldest is 18. The youngest is 10, and she's in gymnastics since she's 3 years old. Right? They like the youngest one just did her states competition today. Hopefully, she makes it to regionals. So they have their own friends, like they're downstairs playing games with their friends online. They meet up every day at gymnastics, 5 hours in the gym. My son is in college, so they have their own world set out for them. But my kids don't. I teach my kids conflict. How's your mentals? That's the only thing I teach them about mentals. How to avoid fights.
Yeah, but see, so for instance, right, the baby, she's in gymnastics, right? She swims, she's in gymnastics. But I'm gonna tell you one thing that we decided to do. Said, hey, I said we're gonna put the baby in soccer, right? A team sport where it's a little more physical. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say it's a full contact sport, but it's a contact because when you out there on that soccer field, and you know what I'm saying, if somebody runs into you or kicks you in your shin, you're gonna get pissed off. And so there's going to be conflict to resolve, and you're going to have to. And so we put the child in an environment where she understands that hey, where there's going to be minor conflict just in the course of playing that sport, right? And then those are saying those are teachable moments. Hey, no, hey, like if you get mad and then you go over there and you push somebody and then somebody pushes you back. Well, they pushed you back because you pushed them. So if you don't want to get pushed, you don't push. If you talk to somebody crazy and they react to that, hey man, if you don't want to be talked crazy to or this and that, hell, then you watch what you say to them. Well, I was mad. What difference does it make? You know, and I'm just saying general things, but you teach children that. But if children never experience those things, experience those feelings of anger, of all those kind of things, and then how are you gonna teach the children to navigate through it?
What do you mean by how you teach children to navigate through
To
it?
what I'm saying is to navigate through the conflicts through conflicts, navigate through their emotions, to regulate their emotions.
In,
To,
in
to navigate interpersonal conflict.
you
The
know what I
children have to
think.
be in an environment where they experience that kind of stuff.
You know what I think we have a misunderstanding is the fact that any kid that goes to a school that has other kids involved is going to have conflict. And if the parent is not involved in that kid's life to understand what is happening in school and what is happening in that kid's mind, then that kid is going to be left to deal with it by themselves.
So what's the
And
difference between school and your children being in sports? And I'm not saying that doesn't happen in school. The difference is when your children are in sports, right? You are witnessing you're involved. You are witnessing the thing from the start of it to the beginning of it, right? So you can put your hands on it all the way. But in school, if the child gets in the depending on the school, depending on the teachers, et cetera, by the time you hear about it, you know what I'm saying? The school day is over. That might have happened in the morning. You hear about it after 3 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? And the children may have even completely forgotten about it. It doesn't have the same impact as if you were sitting there and your children, watching or supervising your children while they play sports or while they're playing outside, whatever the case is, and you see the conflict unfolding. But see, hold on, wait a minute. You pushed her. I pushed her because I wanted to be on the slide. No. So you're mad because she pushed you back, right? What caused her to push you back? What started that? I pushed her. You think that was the best decision for you to make? No. You guys, do you like getting pushed? You think she likes getting pushed? No. Well, if you don't push her, if you don't push,
Let
you
me
don't
say
get
this.
pushed on.
Let me say this,
I'm
big.
just saying a simple thing, man. You have to.
I understand what you're saying, but the biggest impact to a child is when the parent is not watching. The kid acts out 100% more when the parent is not looking. So in school, when the parent is not there, the kid acts out.
Man, you just making a justification for you not
I'm not
supervising, for
making a
someone not
justification.
supervising their children. And
Hey
what I'm
guys,
saying,
You
I
can't be
mean,
a helicopter
hello,
parent.
I'm not justifying.
hello.
Go ahead,
What's up,
Somebody
guys.
say
Trisha?
Hey,
What you
hello.
this
gotta
is
say,
this is
Trisha?
Trisha. Can I chime in for a minute?
Yep.
Hey, Big, I want to ask you a question.
go ahead.
So you do all these amazing things, that, wonderful conflict resolution with your kids and everything, and I appreciate that. I really do. I think it's like amazing
Talking
stuff.
about how we raise the children in our
Yeah,
house. I'm not.
raise it.
So don't all this amazing
No,
things. I'm
so
saying I was just raising children.
right. So okay, I get that, and because I taught conflict resolution to young adults and for a long time as a profession because people don't get that a lot and it was people coming out of the prison system and stuff like that that I was trying to do rehabilitative work with and I just have one question for you to go back to Carmela Anthony um, and if that were your son to reverse the fact and your son wound up in the place that he was at because I truly believe this kid that wasn't his plan that day even if he had
Well,
a
I agree. I
small
agree. I don't think he
right
intended to
even
kill
even if
anybody.
right even if he had a small knife in his book bag whatever how would you handle it now man
What do you mean?
how,
What part of it?
because you're saying like the kid killed somebody he doesn't deserve
Yeah.
any
Well, it's
he doesn't like how would you treat your son if it
as
was
my
your
as my
son
son with love
would
and
you
care
help
the
him get
same
the
way.
fence would you help him
Of,
get
of course, I'm gonna try to get my son, free anywhere I can. You know what I'm saying? But also prepare him for the reality that is highly probable. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna throw my child into the jaws of the beast just to make a point.
So is
No,
it
yeah
not?
because this is what I know. This is what I know. That child, that boy was a young kid that made just a really, really, really bad decision that has really, really serious consequences attached to it.
But
Right.
isn't
And
big?
the reality of it is that, he's most likely, yeah, I don't see him not going to prison. But but I'm not going to I wouldn't sit back and just say, well, he did it, man. No, I'm going to try to get my
Big.
son free.
Isn't that showing your son empathy?
But that's what I'm saying to you. I never
But
said,
when you
but what
asked
you,
me that
because
earlier,
no, I
that's
didn't
what I
ask. I didn't
heard
ask. That
that you
wasn't me that
said.
asked you that.
No, you
okay,
said
I'm
earlier
sorry,
that
sorry.
you had no empathy for him.
No,
That's
I
what
didn't
he
say
said to
that.
me.
I didn't say that.
I
Okay,
thought you did. Yeah,
No, that was
that's what
somebody
I
else.
exactly.
See,
heard.
That's
what
what I
y'all need
heard
to
too.
do?
Right?
No, listen. I didn't say any of that. The
So
brother
maybe
No,
you're
asked
not a
me.
big then.
no, that was me. That was
There you
me.
go.
Big
Okay,
man.
Okay, I
okay,
Big
okay.
Okay,
man.
My
y'all get
I
bad,
y'all
my
shit
apologize.
bad.
together, man.
Because I saw big. My bad.
Yeah, well,
No,
you know
that's
what
Big E.
now? So
That's
that's
Big
whoever you
E.
need to. Yeah,
Okay,
there you go.
there's a difference. Okay, I apologize because I saw big and I saw big and I was like, wait a second,
Yeah,
like this doesn't make sense to me. This
exactly. That's
doesn't.
why I'm asking the
Well, you
same
had it
thing.
wrong. Okay,
I
so I
Thank
guess
you.
apologize.
your
I
question
apologize.
it needs to
I
be addressed to
apologize.
the
I
other brother.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. I apologize. Because I was like getting confused. I'm like walking around my house doing things and I'm listening to you guys and I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense.
Same
Just doesn't
here.
make sense. So thank you. I appreciate that
Yeah.
and I
Now,
apologize.
yeah, but now to answer your question, there's an Instagram reel going around with kind of the similar situation. There's a 15-year-old kid and his grandmother sitting in a police station, and his grandmother is telling him, "Hey, look, I dropped y'all boys off. Y'all did what y'all did, and I told y'all not to tell me nothing for a reason. And I told you, whatever the case may be, with the whoop. Now you in here, and you're gonna have to deal with the consequences." And she told him that, and that young man sat in there and he started crying to his grandma. He gave her a hug, or she gave him a hug, and she let him go.
Yeah, that
There's
grandma was a G. That whole thing needs to
you
be
seen, you know what I'm
highlighted. That
talking
was
about? Yeah,
crazy.
it was
Yes.
And
sad.
I'm going to
That
tell you,
shit brought tears. It brought tears to my eyes because that's how we have to be with these kids.
It was
Big, I'm
heavy.
going to tell you, that's what my mother did to my brother. She got me in the car and she said, "Take me up to the county jail. Your been picked up." And she walked in and she told him, "I told you I'd never visit you in prison." She said, "So I'm just came here to see what you look like behind bars." And she said, "I've seen it now, and I'm gonna go now." And she turned around, and she walked out, and she said, "Take me home." That's just how she was, and like I don't know how she did it. Luckily, it was just something bullshit, and he got out of it. But I don't know how my mother did that because I don't know if I could have done that with my kids. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty tough love. If it's not too personal, I'm wondering, since she did that early on, do you think did it affect him in a positive way? Do you think?
Totally did. Totally did. He became an elevator mechanic in Manhattan and he, like moved on with his life, thankfully. But yeah, I don't know if I could have done it. I don't know. I think it
Yeah,
did.
that's so interesting because I've often thought about some of those preventative measures and making sure that you don't enable children to that degree to let them experience some of the consequences. She really sounds like she
Yeah.
really stood the line. Wow.
I mean, when I was 13 years old, I told her I was running away from home. And she got a suitcase out and she packed up all my shit and she brought me down to the local church and she told the priest, "My daughter doesn't want to live with me anymore. Please find her a nice home to go to." And she left me there. So
I don't
I
mean to
learned my
laugh,
lesson. I
but that
learned
is
my
so
no. It
boss.
was it fucking worked. Excuse my mouth. It worked. It worked. I never said that again.
Yeah, I bet. It's said that children do need to know that they will face measurable consequences, and they will happen every single time. It's like when you threaten kids and you don't follow through, they just get used to just doing the same things over and over again because they know there's not going to be any consequences to it.
Yeah, but
And what's funny, Madison, is my mother was the most loved parent around town. And to this day, she's 87 years old, and my friends still ask for her and you know call her and things like that. It's just crazy, crazy.
yeah, but I don't think that young Carmelo Anthony. He was a young kid that was scared. I mean
I agree.
that's what I think is was the bottom line, and I think that part of that, man, hell, he probably ain't never. I'm not gonna say he'd never been in a fight, but he probably didn't wasn't really too skilled with his hands and confident in that or defending himself or whatever the case was. And I think that's why this is my opinion. I don't have any facts to base this up, and no one does. But I think probably that's why he started carrying the knife. And that doesn't. And I think that was the beginning of the bad decisions of the what I'm saying, carrying the
It's,
knife. If
they
he
said
if
that he always carried a knife. That's
but
what they
what
said.
I'm saying is always is it had to start somewhere. I'm sure you know what I'm saying, because the thing is you have to ask, did he carry a knife to school? Who knows? Did he just carry the knife to the track meet? Was it what kind of knife? Well, who knows, right? But I'm saying I think he was a kid. Hell, that wasn't probably wasn't too good with his hands. Didn't have any confidence in that and was a little timid and scared. Said, man, I'm gonna get carry this knife. So if somebody messes with me, I'm tired of folks messing with me. I'm gonna stab somebody. And I'm
Well, the
not. I'm
eyewitness says they tried to jump him. Eyewitness said the two twins tried to jump him.
okay. So whatever the case was, what I'm
That ain't
saying is
that ain't
he.
in the police report.
But what I'm saying is, whatever the case was, man, the young dude made a few bad decisions. You know what I'm
He
saying? Really
probably
bad.
was scared, like you said, but
Yeah.
that also makes kind of leans in the way of making the case for self defense if he
No,
doesn't feel
because
for
you
his, you
can't
know.
kill someone because you scared.
Well, part of the law is that you can.
No, no,
If
not in
you're scared
Texas.
for your
Are you
life,
in Texas?
That's the stand your ground law.
if
Okay,
you're
so
scared for
this,
your life,
so let me say this, right? And this is clear in the law in Texas, right? It's not what I feel, right? So the stand your ground law, it says using force, right? So Texas makes a distinction between force and deadly force, and that is extremely clear in the penal code, right? And so check this out. So when you say like when they say just a reasonable fear of your life, that is not some subjective standard to say, man, I felt like somebody was gonna kill me. That ain't enough. You get what I'm saying? And so the thing is, right, is you being in fear of being in a fight or somebody beating you up, man, does not rise to the point legally to where deadly force, the use of deadly force is justified.
Well. The
I'm
dude,
telling you, it
the
doesn't.
dude. Well, you got to think the dude. What he's six something. He's 6 foot something.
Doesn't matter.
He's 200. That does matter.
Doesn't
He's
matter. I
two.
mean,
He's two.
listen, man.
Let me
You
finish. Let me
read,
finish. Let me
it
finish. Let me
doesn't
finish.
matter,
Let me
man.
finish. The dude's like 200 something pounds. Um,
That dude was
so
not 200 and something pounds.
he's
Look,
200 something
there's a
pounds.
picture of the dude. The dude, those dudes were about the same size.
Well,
You know what I'm
anyway,
saying? He probably
I know
had
the
maybe
dude. I know the dude.
the
I know the
dude
dude
that
was.
got. Now I'm saying, go look at the
I
pictures,
know the dude
man.
was a lot significantly smaller than
The Carmelo Anthony, 5'9", 130 pounds. That dude was was a little taller, maybe. I don't know. He probably had 30, 40 pounds on the dude, maybe.
That's still a significant
But
amount
what
though.
I'm telling you is, it doesn't matter.
A hit.
In
You
Texas,
can die
that's
from a
not
hit.
enough. In
You
Texas.
can die from a hit.
That is not enough, man. I'm telling you.
I can understand what you're saying. It's not enough, but it's still a factor though that could be used in defense.
It's not enough. If those listen, I'm gonna tell you this. If those lawyers go in that court and try to make a case for
Biggie,
self-defense, that boy's gonna do 30 years, man.
Biggie, that's ridiculous. The Texas
Read
law.
the law, man. I'm just
Okay.
telling
Let
you
me
what
read
the
it to
law
you. Let me
is.
read
I'm
it.
right here in Dallas,
Read it to
man.
you. Let me
And
read
plus
it to you.
plus the fact and the possibility of that, they might have been trying to jump you. You're on the other side. You're on the other side. We're on the other team side. There's a lot of factors.
So let
The
me
fact
read. Let me.
that you got beat. They
And
had
listen,
a
man,
previous. They
read
had a
the law
previous.
and read case law in Texas. It
They had a
ain't
previous
enough.
altercation before
Yeah.
that.
No, they didn't.
Um,
It's
they
not.
did.
No, they didn't.
They did.
No, they didn't.
They
No, they
did.
read the police report like 6 times today.
More than 6 times.
Yeah, I know. More than 6 times.
So let me read this to you, Biggie. Deadly force. The use of deadly force,
In
include
Texas, are you reading the
in
law?
Texas.
Are you reading the penal code?
In Texas.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
What is that? Not section 9.3, right? Or nine? But what are you reading? What section is that?
I'm reading the Castle Doctrine.
No, there's no. So you're not reading. You're not reading the statute though. It's Texas Penal Code, and I think it's 9.3. If you're not reading that, you're not reading the Texas Penal Code
Okay, let
because
me read.
there's nothing in there in the Texas Penal Code that says the Castle Doctrine.
Okay.
So
But
if you're talking about I'm
Castle
reading the
Doctrine has
Castle
to do.
Doctrine, you're not reading the Texas Penal Code.
Castle, correct me if I'm wrong, but Castle Doctrine has to do
No, listen, but
with
listen what I'm
armed
saying.
men.
The castle doctrine is interpreted differently from state to state, right? In the Texas, this is the thing, right? I think people are missing. People are saying stand your ground, but even when you stand your ground, you have to. That is framed in the justifiable use of deadly force. You can't kill somebody for a goddamn fight. You
Well,
have to the use of deadly force has to be justified, and you have no obligation to retreat in Texas. That is the
then look
castle
at Trayvon
doctrine.
Martin then. What about
That
Trayvon
Okay,
was in
Martin?
so
Florida. The castle doctrine is interpreted differently in Florida. We're talking about Texas.
let's go. Let's go. I got it here. Got it here. So you
Okay.
got
It says deadly force. It's section 9.3, I think it is.
9.32 and
There you go.
9.33. This law generally allows individual to use force, including deadly force, in self-defense or defense of others without duty to retreat, or they are lawfully present and or not provoking the situation. That's the law. Now, you want me to read it again? 9.32 and 9.33. The use of force, including deadly force. Stand your ground, don't care if it's force or deadly force. Once you're defending yourself, that's how it works. Or somebody else who's in once you can prove that you feel that you're in harm or death, you can use force and up to deadly force. If you notice, officers will say, I feel like if I am at risk or
I fear
in
for my life.
fear for my life, and they can use force up to deadly force. Once they say that out loud, they can use force or deadly force. Come on now,
No, I'm
that's
gonna
what.
read the statute for you. I'll read it for you. You seem to have a problem with reading, right?
Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
so section 9.32, deadly force in defense of a person. A person is justified in using deadly force against another. One, if the actor would be justified in using force against the other under section 9.31. We can go back and read that. Two, when and to the degree the actor reasonably believes the deadly force is immediately necessary. A, to protect the actor against the other's use or attempted use of unlawful deadly force, or B, to prevent the other's imminent commission of aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated robbery. B, the actor's belief under subsection A2 that the deadly force was immediately necessary as described by that subdivision is presumed to be reasonable if the actor, one, knew or had reason to believe that the person against whom the deadly force was used, A, unlawfully and with force entered or was attempting to enter unlawfully with force the actor's occupied habitation, vehicle, or place of business or employment. B, unlawfully and with force removed or was attempting to remove unlawfully and with force the actor from the actor's habitation, vehicle, or place of business or employment. C, was committing or attempting to commit an offense described by subsection A2B. Two, did not provoke the person against whom the force was used. Three, was not otherwise engaged in criminal activity other than a Class C misdemeanor that is a violation of law or ordinance regulating traffic at the time the force was used.
Stop for a second
C,
here. Stop for a second here. The one you just read before that, read that again for me, please.
did not provoke the person, but that's only one part of it. Did not provoke the
But
person against whom the force was used. So this is what you have to understand about
but then you
Texas law.
started out. You
No,
started out
no, listen
using
what I'm
deadly
saying.
force.
That is not the
Hey,
whole test
Biggie.
of
Guys,
deadly
calm
force.
down.
That's not
Biggie.
it. You have to, what I'm
What he
saying
did
is
was
giving
good
you all
enough.
the criteria. And so what you have to understand that in Texas law, it makes a distinction between force and deadly force. And a subjective feeling is not the bar for the use of deadly force in Texas. That's been established in case law.
Biggie, but
Okay,
number
and which
two,
case law did
Oh,
they
God.
establish that? Which
Calmly, we
one?
can discuss it.
Yeah, okay.
Ooh, please.
I'm cool, man. Just read and do your research, man. That boy, man, that was not the justified use of deadly force. Man, they gonna have a hard. They climbing a Mount Everest butt naked trying to prove that.
Okay.
You can't kill somebody for because you in threat of getting your ass whooped.
Oh, really? Let me tell
Yeah,
you something.
really.
Let me tell you something. Have you ever seen a video where a man comes out of his truck with a gun and he's standing outside of another truck arguing with the guy, and the guy in the
What
second
state was
truck,
that in? What state was
Texas,
it in?
Texas.
What happened?
I'm just explaining it
Did
to
the
you.
man in the truck have a gun?
Dead center his chest. Bam, put him down.
If somebody pulls a gun on you, that is a justified use of
The gun
deadly
wasn't
force.
pointed to the man in the
It
second
doesn't
truck.
matter. Brandishing a
Okay, so
gun in Texas raises it to that. You can pass that. If somebody pulls a gun out, they don't have to point it at you.
what? What are you talking about?
Man, I'm telling you just what the law is. If you brandish a gun, if you say, hey man, if you pull a gun out. of your waist and display a gun to someone trying to in an issue in a
Once
threatening
the gun
manner,
is not
you don't have to
pointed to
point
the
it.
person,
You
the
don't
person
have
is
to
in
point it
no
at
way, shape, or
somebody.
form in danger.
You don't have to
Once
point it at
But
someone in Texas,
guys, there
man.
was no gun used in this situation, so I
no,
don't think
I'm
that's
just
really
showing him.
comparable.
I'm just showing him the difference. If somebody has a gun in their hand and the gun is not pointed to that person, the man you cannot shoot him and say self defense because the gun is not pointed to you. So you cannot say you feel threatened.
That don't even make sense. What we're talking about.
So then in this case, let me ask you a question, Biggie. How many times did the gentleman hit Carmelo? How many times?
According to the arrest report, 0 times. According to the arrest report, he shoved him
How
once,
many
maybe
times?
twice. Yeah.
2 times, correct?
There's 3 different accounts in the report, so it depends on which account you are going to go with. Um, so yeah, we don't know the exact specifics of what went down. There's
Okay.
contradictory information. We're going to have to wait until court and until more testimony comes out to really piece together
Correct.
how
Correct.
this all went down.
And that's where what I've been trying to get across. But he's trying to put a point of that. Hey, he's going to jail. No, we don't know if he's going to jail because if you put your hands on me more than once, yeah, I have a point that I can stand on and say self defense.
Self defense ain't deadly force, though.
See that he doesn't understand that though,
In stand your
because
ground,
he's a
self
little
defense is deadly
And you're
force.
no,
only
self-defense is not deadly force.
and
Lord
you're
have
only allowed to
mercy.
use reasonable force according to the force that's used against you.
Okay, so
Wait, number two of what he just read didn't say that.
exactly that's what I'm telling him. It didn't say
No,
that.
what he has to do is he has to go up. Didn't read the whole entire code, man. He's trying to pick parts of it and then make his case. Texas makes a distinction between the use of force and the use of deadly force. The
Well,
use
hold
of
up.
force,
Well,
and so
hold
the
up, Big
use
E,
of
Big
force
E.
to
So, this
go
my
ahead.
question. So, in those numbers, each one is a distinction of what's allowed, right?
So you have to, what you have to do is you have to go up because it says the use of force, right? It uses 2 words, it says the use of force and the use of deadly force. You using force to defend yourself, like you beating somebody up or messing somebody up, that's one thing. But you killing someone, the bar is much higher for you to kill someone. It has been clarified in case law what the definition of a reasonable fear of losing your life is, right? That has been clarified, and it's not based on some subjective feeling. You say, "Well, I thought the dude, I thought they were gonna kill me." No, you have to reach the bar. That has to be a reasonable fear of your. You have to be in a reasonable fear of your life. And it's not, and reasonable is not just because, man, you thought somebody was gonna jump on you. That ain't enough. That's
So,
not
you weren't
enough.
reading a deadly
Now,
force?
no, I read no. So I read deadly force, but deadly force is also framed within the use of force in self defense. So when it says self defense, it's not just deadly force. It's force in self defense, and then the higher standard is the higher bar is deadly force. Man, somebody ought to be trying to kill you, man, and you have to be able to prove that in court.
No, once the person tried to harm you in
No,
any
the use of force. Read the statute, man.
my
Hey
goodness.
man, if you got a problem reading, that ain't my problem, man. Read it. You're not reading it, and laughing doesn't make your point any more valid, man. Read it. Read the
Hey,
whole thing.
can you drop that link in the chat that you
Oh,
read
I
from?
will. I will.
Because from
I
what
Yeah,
you
will.
read, it actually
I,
sounded like
No,
he
I
was
went
from
when
the
I
self
went down
defense
and I
end.
read I read the statutes. I read the
Well,
part of it that
can you drop that
specifically
link of the
talks about
statues in the
deadly
chat?
force. Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat.
you can't pick in pieces. You got to read the whole dang thing, though.
Law doesn't care about reading the whole thing. They actually go off of bits and pieces. They take what they can and work with it. It might just be the wording, like two different words, and that's how they win the case, and that's what matters.
Man,
And
ain't no
that's
version of it,
what
man.
I'm pointing out
Man, but
again.
yeah, man, listen, man, so hold on, let me read something else to you.
So in law, when you're charged with something, they have to put a code and go off of the code, right? They can't just put the whole. They can't charge you with the whole chapter. Do you know that, right? Biggie, where he going? He disappeared.
Yeah, man, I'm not even gonna dignify that with a response, man.
What did he say?
Because
No.
I'm not gonna dignify that madness because this dude is bordering on idiocy, man. I'm not, come
So
on, man.
you're saying when they
No, no,
charge
say
you,
what I said.
you're
Because I
saying
didn't
when they
say
charge you.
because what you're saying, I didn't say. I didn't say anything about the charge. I didn't say anything about that. I didn't say anything about charging anyone. I didn't. That wasn't my conversation. So if you're talking about something, that's what you're saying, and I don't, and I don't, man, I'm not, whatever you talking about, I don't know what you're talking about. But that's
So
not what I said. I didn't say anything about that.
okay, so let me ask you: when you get charged with a crime, isn't it a statute versus the whole chapter?
And therein goes, man. Therein goes, right? So let me ask, it's the whole so check this out. You go down and let's look at it. So you understand what it is, right? Because you know what I'm saying, the charge for murder is not in this chapter. That's not this chapter. You feel me? So you know what I'm saying? They charge you, so when you say murder, there are many things, there are many different, it's the whole chapter, man. So the thing is this, right? If you go to the top of this, right, general principles of criminal responsibility, justification excluding criminal responsibility, subchapter A, general provisions, right? And so when you go down and it says here, right, it talks about it talks about justifiable force, and then it talks about deadly force. Those are two different things. And it's clear. But you have to read, though.
So what I'll do, I'll go over it and we can get back to this on another day, probably tomorrow if you're back on tomorrow. But if
I mean, if
somebody
that
else
much you
want to
can't
chime,
read, you should be able to read it in about 10, 15 minutes, man, or less. I mean, it's
okay,
not
so
that.
let me take 10,
Yeah,
15
go,
minutes and read
yeah,
it
go read
over.
it.
Let me take 10, 15
Don't
minutes
read
to
it
read it
over.
over,
Read it. Read it. In a
and
detailed manner.
we'll get back to it in 10, about 10, 15 minutes. But if anybody else want to jump in on this topic, go ahead. I land right here.
Yeah, it's also unclear from the arrest report, like at what point the knife was pulled out, because in one of the descriptions, it implies that they were both seated and they were arguing, and it was during that argument that Carmelo was reaching around in his bag for the knife, and then only when he got shoved did he stab him. The other account is a little bit different, so we don't even know at what point the knife was pulled out.
A police report is one sided, so you're not going to get a full understanding of what happened within a situation from a police report.
Yeah, exactly. They're just reporting what witnesses are telling them. That doesn't mean that what's in the arrest report is what actually happened. That's just like all we have to go off of right now. But it's possible that maybe we'll get some more details tomorrow, because if they are trying to lower the amount of his bail, I don't know what type of evidence you would present in that situation, but we might get some additional evidence as they're making the argument to try to reduce the bond.
So one thing that goes on in Texas is someone in the brother that was reading read how Texas views proportional force, because that's a big thing. In order for assault to be justified, just assault, we're talking about force. We're not talking about deadly force, but deadly force, with the same proportional force must be present. This means the amount of force used to assault the alleged victim must be proportional to the threats you received. If someone was threatening to slap you on the face, for example, you cannot respond with aggravated assault and claim self-defense.
Yeah,
You
that's in the
know,
castle doctrine too, Big E. But you know this kid ain't gonna get no more than 10 years. Come on, man. Let's be serious here, man.
No, he might though. I would say at the least he's going to get 10 years. I have it if they could get it down to manslaughter. But
Manslaughter,
I mean,
yeah.
who knows? But if they charge murder, because I mean he's I mean if they indict him on murder, because the indictment's not going to come down to June, sometime in June probably, and
They're gonna have
so
a hard time proving murder though, you know that.
no,
Come on.
well, no, not necessarily, man. It
Why you
just
say that?
depends. I mean, we just don't know all the facts of the case, but because the thing that just depends. I'm not, and I'm listen, man. I'm not saying what he did or what he didn't do. I'm not, I think they should, open up the gates and let him out. You know what
I'm
I'm
saying
saying?
the intent.
But
The
but no,
intent.
when
They're
I,
gonna have
when
to prove intent that he
no, you don't
intended
have
to
to.
kill this dude.
No, you don't have to prove intent in Texas to get a murder conviction.
So
What?
what's the other prong
What are you
then? That's
talking about? You don't have to
what's the
prove
other prong?
intent.
No, you don't, man.
No, so what's the other prong then? What's the prong? What's the prong that you talking about? If
Look,
it's not intent.
what I'm saying is all you have to do now. Listen, it's not. You have to, because in Texas, hell, it reckless. Reckless behavior. Like if you pulling out a knife and say playing with a knife and you kill that man, they can charge you and they can walk you down for murder for that.
No, but reckless is manslaughter.
No,
That's what
no, no, no,
Yes.
no. It's not though. It's not. That has to be determined in court. What I'm saying is they
What are you
can walk
talking
you
about?
down. Just what I read the fucking statute, man.
I'm gonna read the
Manslaughter.
statute right now. I'm gonna read the statute right now. All right. I'll
Manslaughter is
read it
a
right
lesser
now.
crime.
Hold on one second here, man.
Nah, it
Let me
actually
go to
still
this
sounds like
joint.
self defense. It's just that the
Murder.
outcome
Let's get it. Let's
is
get
death.
it.
So it sounds like manslaughter.
Murder. All
Chapter
right.
chapter nine
All right.
chapter
What we got?
19, man.
What we got here? Come on, man. What the hell? This shit I don't know.
Yeah, I'll read it
This
for you.
shit.
Right, 1902 murder. In this section, one, adequate cause means cause that would commonly produce a degree of anger, rage, resentment, or terror in a person of ordinary temper sufficient to render the mind incapable of cool reflection. Right, sudden passion. It goes down here and it describes all
Yeah,
that.
those are just definitions. Go ahead.
So when we go down, okay, because we're not capital murder. We
Okay.
are,
And
let
regular
me
murder.
see. Yeah, hold on. So capital murder is 9.03.
So a person commits offense if the person intentionally or knowingly causes the death of an individual, right?
There it
Intent,
is.
part two, intends to cause serious bodily
So
injury
so
and
so
commits an
this
act clearly dangerous to the human
so,
life
so
that
this is the
causes the
part.
death of the individual.
Exactly.
Three, commits or attempts to commit a felony other than manslaughter, and in the course of and in the furtherance of the commission or attempt or an immediate flight from the commission or attempt, the person commits or attempts to commit an act clearly dangerous to the human life that causes the death of the individual.
Right.
Four, knowingly manufactures or delivers the controlled substance. So where it's intent.
Number one. No,
Exactly.
no, no.
That's what
Listen
I'm
what I no.
talking to
Listen
you
what I'm
about.
saying. Listen what I'm saying. Right. Listen what I'm saying to you. It's going to be damn near impossible to prove, right, that you pulling out a knife. Hell, that's where it hinges that you didn't. It's going to be damn near impossible to say that wasn't murder, because the thing
They
is,
gotta have
no,
intent.
no, what
You
I'm
have to
saying,
have
the intent.
intent.
Okay, check this out. If you pull out a knife on someone, If you pull out a knife, hell, what are you trying to do, man? Do-si-do around the mulberry bush?
Come on, man. You being
A
silly
stab
now,
No,
wounds
bro.
no.
mean
What I'm
you're
saying
dead,
to you is,
bro.
you pulling out a knife on somebody, even though the intent of the dude, right, may have been just to back him off, but it's going to be hard to prove that, man, when you pulled the knife out, right? Hell, man, that you didn't understand that the consequence of that was somebody losing their life. That's going to be damn near impossible to prove.
Yeah, but
And
you
that's
can't
why.
prove that's not intent, though. You can't say that it's intent
No,
that he
but that
wanted to murder him.
what I'm saying is he pulled the knife out, man. That's the prosecution's case for
Yeah, but
murder.
pulling a knife out does not mean that he intended to murder
Exactly.
him.
Hey,
That does
Biggie,
not prove
go
that.
to
Hey,
He
Big E.
intended to
y'all,
protect
No, Big.
himself.
So
but
let's go.
how can you prove
Big
that?
E, Big E. Hold on, Big
Because
E,
the guy
because
put his hand in him.
yeah, you're emotionally involved. Go back to the
No, I'm
same.
not, man.
So
Listen, I'm not. This is how I talk, man. So
I
don't
know.
try to
Okay,
use
okay.
Yeah,
that
but
kind
it's
of
So go back to
that kind.
loud.
Of,
It's
this is
subchapter.
how I
loud.
talk.
Listen,
Okay,
go
well,
back to
just say that you
subchapter
don't like
C.
that.
No, no,
Come
I'm
on,
good.
man.
I'm good with it
But
then,
all
because
that you're
if that's how you
emotionally. No,
are, I know how
I'm
you are,
not emotionally invested in this stuff.
bruh. Just go back to subchapter C and then go to number 4. Go to
Man,
4.
listen.
Just
What I'm
go.
telling you is, what I'm telling you,
I'm listening,
I
but
read
I'm
it to
going off of
you.
what you said already. No, you didn't read 4. Read
Yeah,
4. If you
you
go to
read it.
4,
You read it.
I'll read it.
Go
If
ahead.
the actor provoked the other's use or attempted use of unlawful force, unless, right, the actor abandons the encounter or clearly communicates to the other his intent to do so, reasonably believing he cannot safely abandon the encounter. Then there's B. The other nevertheless continues or attempts to use unlawful force against the actor.
Read it one more time.
With one more time, because you
Unlawful
wasn't
use of
having.
what? Unlawful use of what?
So you that last one.
No,
The
read the
other
top of it. Read in the beginning. Read it again.
For if the actor provoked the other's use or attempted use of unlawful force.
Force, not deadly force.
No, force, unlawful
Listen to
force.
what I'm telling you. Texas law makes a distinction between the use of force and the use of deadly force.
Bro,
But
force can turn out to be deadly
It makes
force.
a distinction in the law.
this gives a
But force can
pass
turn out to be deadly
over
force.
force
No,
because
man,
this
it
is
makes a distinction. Force is if you
it's
jump on
inclusive.
somebody, hit them, and deadly force is killing somebody.
If I
No,
jump
it's
on you and hit you and
inclusive
you
Oh
fall
my
and
God. Okay,
because
man.
this way. Hold
let
up,
me show
wait,
you
because
something.
you're
Let me
ignoring
show how
what it
you're not
says.
thinking
I'm
about
not
it.
with
If
you,
I
man.
if I jump on you and push you and you fall and hit your head and you're dead, what's that?
That's not what we're talking about.
You're
No,
ignoring what
I'm
it
not
says
ignoring.
in
I'm saying
B.
y'all just don't understand, man, that Texas makes a distinction between the use of force and the use of deadly force. And one thing
Understand?
in
I
Texas,
understand that.
No,
within
I
that,
understand what you're saying.
there is a cause for proportional force. Y'all don't understand that, and that was
Nah, I
established in
understand
case
that.
law.
I understand that.
So
You can't kill somebody unless they're trying to kill you, basically, is what you're saying.
that there
If
you go.
somebody's trying to kill you, you could kill them. But if they're not trying to kill you, then you got to give them the same thing that they're trying to give you.
There you
All
go.
I'm saying is my argument is that he did not intend to kill this dude.
Okay,
And they
but
can't
I
prove
don't
that
think
he
I
intended
don't
to do that.
but I don't think he did either. But what I'm saying is that's going to hinge on if he goes to trial for murder, that's going to hinge on the ability of the defense to prove that or to disprove that, rather. That because that's going to be the prosecution's directive. Hey, man, when he pulled out the knife, he intended to kill the dude. What else was he intending to do? And the defense is going to have to argue to that. And what I'm saying is, so that goes down to what the jury, to who can convince the jury. And what I'm saying is, hell, man, in Collin County, Texas, man, hey, man, man, that is like I said, that is a very big mountain to climb.
Nah, I feel you there because that's the piece,
That's
and I
the
think
point I'm making.
Kathy said earlier, yeah, is the fact that where he is, they about to try to hammer him. But the whole
Yeah, but
idea
see,
is
this case gonna be nationwide, maybe even worldwide. And they're gonna have some high profile lawyers on this case. This ain't gonna be just no regular meatball defense attorney case, man. This is gonna be some shit. And everybody gonna have their eyes on this, man.
yeah, but they're gonna move through them
and and
preliminaries so
and it's the
fast,
part.
and it's gonna be in court.
And this is the part that you when you read section 2, it said intends to cause serious bodily injury and commits an act clearly dangerous to human life that causes the death of an individual. That's murder in Texas. And so it's going to be hard to walk into a courtroom and prove that you didn't commit an act that is clearly dangerous to human life that caused the death of an individual, like hell, pulling out a knife on somebody. I'm just telling you what it is, man. Y'all, hopes and dreams are one thing, man, but man, they gonna try to slam that boy to the wall, man. If you walk into court, if you walk into that court, if that legal team walks into that court trying to prove self-defense or using self-defense as a defense, hey man, that boy gonna do 30 years in prison, man.
They gonna try to do it, but I'm
No,
telling you
I think what they're gonna
that
try
the
to
eyes is
do.
gonna be on this. They not gonna be able to just get it off like you think they gonna get it
No,
off.
I don't think it goes to trial. I think that in my opinion, who knows, right? I think that they get it dropped. Their first, strategy is going to be to get it dropped to a manslaughter and try to get that boy to plead out and try to get it where he can plead out and get it to a 10-year sentence, maybe half of that suspended, maybe he goes for 5, or maybe even shot probation, which is 18 months. But
I
there's
think
no
that's his
verdict.
best bet.
But
That's
I'm
his
saying,
best
but
bet right there.
that's if the DA plays ball like that. I'm gonna say it like this: if the DA, when that shit goes in front of a grand jury, if it comes back, if a murder indictment comes down, if he is indicted on murder without a lesser included offense, manslaughter, hey man, hey, they gonna walk that boy, man, to the they gonna crucify him in court. You know what I'm saying? Because that means at that time, that the DA is extremely confident that they can get a murder conviction.
Yo, this shit lighting the nation on fire. That's why we up talk. They listen. They opened this room. I don't know, 8 o'clock, something like that. Yesterday, it was opened up too. So I mean, this conversation is all over the nation right now. Right? Everybody eyes are gonna be on this case. Somebody gonna put some high profile lawyers on this case. This ain't gonna be no little situation, man. They ain't gonna be able to just hang them high with this kid, man.
Hey,
They're not gonna be able to do it.
let
Man,
me chime in on
hey
that if
man,
I
you got to
can.
think, man. There was a body, man, in the ground, man. And so, I'm not talking about how I feel about it or my opinion on it. Hey man, it is going to be hard, man, to man, it's gonna be that boy got a hard way to go, man. You know what I'm saying? And I just personally don't see any scenario where he doesn't do prison time. I
Let
think
me
it's a
let me ask you a crazy question, Biggie. Did you see any scenario where Zimmerman walked?
yeah,
He said yes.
yeah. I
I
saw
know,
him walk,
no,
yeah.
that I did
I
too.
saw him
I ain't
walking
gonna
out
lie,
of
I
that.
agree with
Hey,
Big E.
hey, man, because hey man, we saw now that this is in another jurisdiction, right? Hell, man, we saw 4 white police officers, man, walk out of a courtroom that clearly beat a man half to death in the Rodney King case in Simi Valley, and they walked out of that court. They walked out of there free. So I don't know what made. When I saw the George Zimmerman thing, yeah, I said, yeah, I saw him walking. In my mind, hell, it would have been. I would say it would have been something close to a miracle for him getting convicted of that. And
Hope
then
Kyle
and then
Rittenhouse.
listening to the case, hell, those prosecutors, man, were lackadaisical in their prosecution of the dude.
How about Kyle Rittenhouse? You saw that it was a walk?
I saw that as a walk too. I saw it. Yeah, that didn't shock me. I think if you were shocked by it, man, hell, man, you just been asleep at the wheel, observing, understand the justice system in this country. I think
You ain't
if
see
you
his goofy ass tears.
if you didn't think he was, let me tell y'all something. You check this out, right? Between 1877, right, and 1968, I think it was, right. You know how many White folks in this country were convicted of a first degree murder of a black person in this country, were charged and convicted. You know how many in that span of time?
I mean,
And that's during the
But
100 years of lynching. You know, when black folks, you know, all that. But one,
oh man, come on now,
one.
come on now.
No, I'm just saying one, just one in the whole country, one. And that was in 1920 something in Georgia, right? I forget the dude. Dude had a peonage farm in Georgia, and they killed several
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I'm
black
shocked. I
folk.
would think that'd be north, not south.
No, it was in the whole country, but he had a peonage farm. So what I'm saying is, I mean, if you shocked that George Zimmerman didn't get convicted of, I mean, come on now. If you shocked by that, I wasn't shocked by that. Like, oh man, oh, that didn't shock me.
And let me say this. Can y'all hear
Why,
me?
why didn't it shock you? You said.
Because I know the history of this country and the judicial
I
system.
can.
And so it didn't, that wouldn't be, that's not an abnormal thing.
You're saying based on the
Based on the
courts,
history, man. Come on
based
now.
on the courts, he walked,
Yeah, based on the history of the judicial system, man. If you and you know, I mean, come on now.
and that's
Yeah, but
because.
hey,
Okay,
man, it
all right.
couldn't shock me. If it shocked you, you just don't know American history.
I'm just shocked that's in the south. I'm saying that's only my only shock. I would think that would be in Kent, not Kent. I think that
Well,
would be
George
in
Zimmerman
Ohio.
was in the South.
No. I'm talking about the
Oh,
one
the
time somebody
peonage
was
farm.
convicted. Yeah, I would think that'd be in like Ohio, Maine, Vermont.
No,
You know
but
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
but it's yeah, but no, but no. What happened? You have to look at the circumstances around why that happened. You know what I'm saying? Why that was the case, right? You know, it gets a little complicated when you look in why the federal government, you know, went down there and investigated him for, you know, peonage and running a peonage farm. It's more complicated than that. It ain't just because they had a problem with it. You know, that's not why someone had took a moral position and say, yeah, that wasn't it. It was political. So that's the reason why they were trying to. There's a lot of things going on politically in this country at that time. That
Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me, right, Big E?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me say this. The Big E just last statement was there's a lot of things were going on politically at that time. And I think back to OJ. I think about what's going on in America at this time. So I do think history will say, just like the OJ Simpson trial was all over the world, and people was on the edge of their seats. People probably remember where they were when that OJ Simpson verdict came down. And so you're not going to tell me that because it was such a widely publicized attention on the matter scene, that judge, Ito, factored in what is going to be the effect of what his verdict, in this case, was about to come down, was going to have on the larger picture. There's nobody going to convince me that that was not a variable in that decision. So it really was a case that was held in a public opinion arena because it was big. So therefore, the attorneys and how it unfolds is going to matter. And that's why I'm looking at all the people and all the emotions and all the rush to judgment and all of this. And well, there's so much data that hasn't even been presented yet because there's already a court of public opinion in effect. And ain't nobody, the trial ain't even started yet. Even the not the $1 billion, the $1 million bail, all of this stuff that's posted and all this understanding. Um, so my opinion is that because millions of people's lives will be affected one way or the other in this verdict, and it's going to create so much energy how many months from now when that verdict comes down along the way. And I keep in mind also, before yesterday's funeral, or was it today's funeral? I'm sorry, but yesterday's conversation had a lot to do with all of what's supposed to happen in the media, and oh, it's going to be a big thing. And when we asked the people, one person that was in attendance today, how did it go? People were curious because not everybody's in town and knows that, and not everybody. So we're just wondering how was how was the actual hold on, what you mean? Wait. How was the actual um how'd it go? And contrary to what everybody was thinking might happen or what the media was hyping up and it's gonna be a lot of drama, the police are warning everybody, don't act a fool and whatever. They said it was nice and calm. And to me, that was reflective of just calm down because it's not no little bitty thing. It was not, it's like a ticking time bomb damn near because the effect of what happens, people are watching, and it's the precedent is in effect. So factoring in a whole lot of variables, not the least of which how the public is going to react to that verdict. It matters. Back in the day, I don't know, whatever year ago, 1900, 18, it wasn't the whole world watching a lot of these verdicts. The local community knew this is big, and that's one thing. But the whole world, I believe, is very much tied to how this verdict goes down, especially in light of Zimmerman and standing your ground and improving intent. It's going to come down to that jury. To me, all this whole case is going to ride on proving the intent. That's why I think I was, like I said yesterday, going back to 8 o'clock that morning, 9 o'clock, what happened a week before that, 2 weeks before that, and all of that is going to be a very important determining factor on how that whole day unfolded. We hearing a snapshot of that very moment when things were really intense and it just went. We hearing a snapshot probably of about a 10-second window of when it went from everything is raining, he's over there, and it went from there to someone's dead in a short period of time. And that to me is very important, all those little details. How many seconds before did somebody do something? How many milliseconds before who did what? And standing your ground versus that's part of it. But the intent part, it goes back to why you brought it, why was you under the tent? Did you know him ever? Have you ever seen him in life before? What was was there text messages? All of that is going to unfold in this drama, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, but they don't have to prove that he intended to kill the boy. That was what I was saying. I didn't say intent. I misspoke on that. But anyway, they don't have to prove that he intended to kill him. They just have to prove that he intended to do the action which led to his death. You know what I'm saying? Because
Well,
his
as
intent,
I was
whether he,
listening to the wordage of felony,
you said what now?
as I was listening to the words of when y'all was reading over 1, 2, 3, and 4, and those words in there talking about he had something about intent to commit a felony or something like that when he brought it out. If you read it closely, it says in there when he brandished that, brought that out, intending to commit a felony. Well, define what a felony is, and then say he
Well,
intended to
Yeah.
commit felony.
well,
So if he's
if the
standing your
claim is
ground,
self
he's not
defense
intending to
to
commit a
the
felony.
prosecution,
Say that
does
again.
have to prove that he was not in fear of his life, and that's what they have to do.
Part of that task, exactly.
Yeah, but that's not a high bar in that case. That's really not
I mean, that's the thing with
because
Zimmerman. When
you
you
you know
analyze
that.
Zimmerman, you analyze those. Like, how do you prove another person wasn't scared to death? How you gonna
I
prove
mean,
Zimmerman?
Texas,
Exactly.
in Texas, this is the thing that a subjective fear of fear of your life is not sufficient. You have to, they clearly define what a reasonable fear is, and
Well,
that's not based on what he
I
felt.
get it
It's based on what other reasonable people
exactly, and that's
would
why to
say,
me
and see that's the trick to it.
that's
It's
in
not based
Carmelo
on
Anthony's
what he
favor.
felt.
That's in Carmelo
What you
Anthony's
say?
favor because if I was his attorney, I would be saying, well, what have other people decided was their life was in danger? Now I can pull up all these white folks, whoever felt that, I don't know, man, they had on their hat backwards and it was scaring me to death. They playing their music loud. And I thought, they must be some criminals. So I shot them. And that I've seen that
No,
work.
that ain't gonna fly.
I've seen
I
that
Hey, you
work.
know
can tell
what?
you.
You know
That
what,
ain't
Meech?
gonna
Look,
that ain't
I was
gonna
gonna say,
fly.
I've been pretty much kind of. I mean, maybe it's just personally, I'm rooting for the boy, but
I'm gonna pose what Biggie was saying until just now in that last mention of Zimmerman, right? Because Zimmerman was able to say he was in fear for his life because he was fighting a 16-year-old black boy.
Oh, so I
That's the
think
precedent.
16.
That's the
16, right? So
precedent.
here's the thing. In this situation,
He was 17.
everyone's mad. He was 17, right? In this
He
situation,
was
everyone's
16,
mad.
16,
He was
16.
16, 16, 17, teenage boy. We're just gonna leave a teenage boy. So he he was in this situation. You got a kid that's 5'9", buck 50, or no, buck 60 soaking wet because he was 150. It was 157, and then you got a kid that was 125. Wait, there was 225, standing about 6'2". And even in this situation, everyone's mad at the kid that was defending himself with a knife. There's no, it's a defined line, and so now you got to prove that this kid, also wasn't a danger. Because in there, you've already heard, hey, he pushed him, he shoved him, he grabbed him, and in the middle of this, somewhere between the grab and the next shove, the kid told him like, man, listen, hey, stop, well, hey, you don't want to know what's next. And in this, there are a lot of people who still see the 5'9", 157-pound kid versus the 225-pound kid as a threat. And that's just how a good chunk of the country is.
And if I'm
And
in the,
that
I'm
is the burden. I mean, it may be a burden of proof, but in reality, it's just a piece of what it is. And so now I see what you're saying, Big E, as in, man, you know what? We see prison time. To me, I don't see it because the kid didn't stab him multiple times trying to kill him. He shoved the knife in him and ran. But
So,
some people don't care about the running. They don't think about the fact that he wasn't like maliciously doing it. He really was like, get off me, and ran away. And that's
so
the problem with the whole perspective of it.
see,
Jay, that's,
I'll
I'm
give y'all
sorry.
case law versus Vega. This is in the Texas Supreme Court. Shepard versus the state, Lozano versus the state, Seeley versus the state, Lee versus the state of Texas. It goes on and on, where these folks have defined in court through case law what a reasonable fear of your life is. Right? It's not some type of subjective thing in Texas. Right? I don't know what that looks like in Florida law. I don't know. Right? But I know in Texas, based on what we know now, right? Hell, man, a self-defense defense, right, would be hey man, man, that would be suicide for that boy.
Listen, the reality is that there's a black kid in jail and there's a white kid in a coffin, and the black kid, no matter what, is going to be held accountable because of who he was. That's it. And he hasn't had the consequences of having a knife in his bag, and it sucks. It just
Yeah, I honestly
sucks.
don't think. I think we
Don't
should give
tell.
it time.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think we should give it time. I honestly don't think that the kid is going to go to prison for murder. Um, well, once they sort everything out, like I know it's hot news, and again, like you said, it's the black dude versus the white dude, right? So it was going viral when it's building conversation. But the reality is, I think the end result is him going to be coming home for sure.
I pray you're right. I pray you're right.
I mean, you got a community of people literally saying that the white boys were bullies, um, that the kid has an impeccable record. He's not like a bad kid. He doesn't have like any priors or anything. He's never showed signs of being a troubled kid. Versus the white kids, like they pretty much build a reputation within that community. When it comes down like to being a character witness, like pretty much everyone could vouch that it was justifiable, right? That he was in fear for his life and he was protecting himself. Now, as far as him having a knife on him or whatever, I don't know. They probably could charge him with that possession of a weapon or whatever, right? But as far as the whole murder rap, I don't think he going to jail for that at all.
Well, you might want to read case law. I just read it, and I don't see where he can get off. I think the best thing they could do is plea. I think if they go for the bigger one, then they'll lose. But I don't think that. I think it's going to be plead out.
That sucks, Scooby.
Huh?
I
Who
really
am I
feel
speaking
bad for the
to?
kid.
Who
That
said that?
sucks because, one stupid ass decision in a hot second and, you don't even know what happened beforehand. Somebody challenged him, go sit in that fucking tent.
Hold on.
Don't
It's
let
two
those
people on one
white
mic.
boys be challenging you or
What?
intimidating you. You don't even know what fucking happened
Nigga
beforehand.
talking to himself.
Excuse my mouth.
If y'all really want to get into it, man, read. There was a case that was decided in 2021, Lozano versus the state of Texas. Read that. Read the decision that came down from the Court of Appeals, and then once you read that, then then reevaluate what's happening here in that regard, man. I suggest y'all read that Lozano versus State of Texas, Lozano,
When was that?
2021, 2021.
What was the situation at hand? Like, how'd it go down?
Same thing. Somebody got killed, and someone says that someone was used, and the defense was that somebody that killed somebody was justified. They say they were justified in using deadly force because they were in fear for their lives. And the court said, "No, that wasn't the case."
That's another thing too. Like from my understanding, like I never like looked at the details of this new shit, but from my understanding, he killed them with one strike. Like it wasn't like a multiple. It was like one strike, straight puncture. It wasn't like he just kept on stabbing at him. You know what I'm saying? So I think they, it's a lot of different details. I think will work in his favor with it.
But man, it's
So with that talk,
manslaughter.
yeah, go ahead.
No, this is manslaughter. That was like
Yo, y'all got a part of me.
in
I'm a bit
Texas
confused because I
in
hear
most
Big E,
states.
but I don't see
I
him. It
mean,
seemed like three people coming from one microphone. Is this just my app? Am I tripping?
no, you know what? I got close to my other phone. Hold on a second.
Screaming
I'm
off
I'm
two
the
different apps.
mod on Clubhouse. I'm gonna go on mute because that's probably my other phone. I thought I covered that motherfucker with a
So
pillow or
you got
something.
another
Hold on.
room
Go ahead.
going?
Go ahead.
So there's a thing too. Like now, the judge can't bar a self
RJ, be
defense
slow,
I
nigga.
am because I hear three niggas coming out of one
defense
mic.
in the
Yeah, they
court,
got
but
another room
the
going on
judge can
the
bar
other
those
room.
instructions
Chatter.
from being given to the jury, though.
What up, though?
You know? So that boy it's a tall mountain for him to climb, man. It's a very tall mountain, and it's going to depend on the strategy, man, that
Hey, E,
the
it's
defense team
people from
uses.
Frisco. They got some
You got to
paper
talk.
on them, man.
What'd you say?
They from Frisco, man. You know, those people got a little bit of paper, man. They ain't gonna let him go down crazy. He gonna have a little bit of good representation. From my understanding,
He
they had a lawyer
he
that
gonna
was trying to
go.
turn it into a black and white thing, and the parents, the black kid parents, was trying to shy away from that. Like they don't want them to play the race game with it. You know what I'm saying? The whole civil rights and all that shit. Like they want to keep it clean and simple, so that way it don't get too crazy.
Yeah, but the thing is he's gonna Frisco or Collin County, Texas, man, is 50% white, 11% black, 20% Asian, that primarily Indians, Indian from India, and I think 16% Hispanic. Is that what it is? Something like that. Yeah, that 4% other or whatever.
I know
But
when
the
I go to
thing
Lava
is, it's
Cantina on
going to be
Sunday, they
very
all black up
difficult
there.
to get a jury that looks at that boy in a sympathetic light, man, in Collin County. Collin County is ultra conservative, man. And it's just going to be very difficult to panel a jury, man, that sees that boy as a young kid, man, who just made a bad mistake. So,
Hey, Biggie. I got
my
a
opinion.
couple of people on Clubhouse that want to talk. I think, hey, your piece, and then after that, go ahead, Julian.
Y'all, I go ahead and resign my time to speak. I'm washing dishes right now. This late at night. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm up. Yeah, somebody else can speak. I'll come back around. I'm listening though.
Hey, Julian, it's your time to shine, man. You've been asking to talk. I posit the guy just left the room. Yeah, hey, go ahead, Biggie. Everybody, go ahead on chatter.
I didn't have anything else. I'm just saying this boy got a tall, very, very tall, difficult mountain to climb. Those are my last points.
So I'm reading the case that you mentioned about Lozano
It's
versus
about the
Texas,
instructions that were given to the jury about duty to retreat.
and Lozano appellant pulled a gun out before what's his name Hina, Hinajos punched through the truck window. So appellant had the gun, and he says Hernandez punched appellant once through the breaking the glass, punched through the window, and punched him in the face. And appellant turned towards her, whatever his name is, and shot him three times, killing him. So when he went to the lower court, the court um, granted him the win. But then when they went back to appeals court, the appeals court of Texas said, um, he wasn't entitled to deadly force self-defense instructions in the first place because of what he did. He pulled a gun out, and the guy was outside the car, and the guy came around the front of the car and punched him in the face. That's when he shoot him. This is a long back and forth him and this guy had
Yeah,
in in a
that's why.
in a parking lot. Went to a restroom. The argument, whatever happened outside in the rest. Yeah, this is a long back and forth. So you can't plead self defense when you and this guy had a back and forth. No, this is not self. I'm just reading this. This is not
Oh,
self
so you
defense.
have to look how they're defining the different terms, man. Deadly force, use of deadly force, justifiable, the justifiable use of deadly force. That's the point. See, all these cases define that clearly. In Cleary versus the state of Texas, they defined, that the use of force against another is not justified in response to verbal provocation alone. The term reasonable belief means that belief would be held by an ordinary and prudent person in the same circumstances as the defendant. I mean, they clearly define what this stuff is, right? You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, in that case, it's going to be hard to prove, man, that under a reasonable fear, for instance, reasonable belief has been defined in Texas law. It's going to be difficult, man, if not impossible, to prove that that boy had a reasonable belief that he was in fear for his life, because it's not defined by what he felt. That's the point. He may have felt, I'm not doubting that, he may have felt that he was in fear for his life, but that's not the bar that has to be satisfied. That's the trick to it.
I think the bar that has to be satisfied is that it was more than verbal. And in this case, it was more than verbal because he touched him twice. So,
Yeah, but that may be justified use of force, but not deadly force. You can't kill somebody because they touch you.
But what about stand your ground?
Even in the stand your ground applies to use of force too, right? But in order for that to be, you have no duty or obligation to retreat, but you still have to justify the use of deadly force. I said, if somebody pulls a gun on me, right? That is a,
I got you.
and that now at that point I'm in reasonable fear for my life. It just to keep it simple, right? And I don't have to run away or duck for cover. I can pull out my gun if I have a gun in my hand. And I can kill that person, and that would be justifiable use of deadly force. But if somebody comes at me and pushes me, say they push me, right, or punch me in the jaw,
That's
and
not
then I
justifiable.
back up, and shoot him, and I'm going to prison.
Yeah. But I think in this situation, it can be both. It does look like he premeditated. That's what it's looking like, premeditation, because it's been a rolling disturbance. They've already been into it. They've been going back and forth. That's the only thing that's gonna hurt this young man. But however, it could still be both. The situation with the tent, the way I thought about it, my daughter run track. There's several tents out there. Everybody had different tents, whatever. This family, if you do shot put, you run the 200, you're on the 100, you're on the relays, you're on cross country. Everybody got their own tent. But at the end of the day, if it starts storming, we all a team. It don't matter what fucking tent I go under to. We track. It don't matter what event you do. If I run up under this here, happen to run up under this here tent, oh, now I'm surprised. Like, damn. Oh, it's I gotta get up under here with these people. He could have ran out. He could have, but he ain't have to. And they been fucking with him. And that's all I'm gonna say. I'm done.
Yeah, but I don't think
Well,
that's even a question, though.
no, but the thing is, the parents already came out and said that they've never had interactions with each other before.
I don't think it's the bullying part. That's not the question, man. The bullying part. The question is, man, because you were getting bullied, are you justified in killing the dude? That's the part. That's the bar that he has to get over. It's not whether the dude was bullying him or whatever, or if the dude hit him or whatever the case was. That's not the sticking point. The sticking point is based on what happened. Did that justify the use of deadly force? Not force, but deadly force. If he had hit him in his jaw and they had fought, and then the boy had gotten injured, or even he would have had a leg to stand on. But it's like, man, it's saying that, man, did that give you a justifiable right to kill the dude? To get,
This argument that you're making, sir, with all due respect, is the problem that is in the black community in America.
oh, here we go.
And if you keep on this line of argument, then it could be the next guy, it could be your neighbor, it could be my son, it could be yours or your cousin or somebody else tomorrow. Okay? That
Yeah.
argument doesn't hold any water because this is how I'm looking at it. Whether you like it or not, that's where I'm going to look at it because that's how United States of America is going to look at it. You might stay there and be postulating against the law, but what happened in all the other cases? Okay, if the table, ask yourself, if the table is turned, will they look at this, make this kind of argument that you're making now? Yes, that guy, okay, as far as I understand America and the history of America, that guy belongs to one of the persecuted classes in America, one of the subjugated, oppressed, and threatened classes in America. He should be left alone. He has been retreating for over 400 years. There's no other place to retreat. Every other tribe, every other race that has come to United States have a law that says, leave them the F alone. Do you understand? Except you. And you're here making this argument. There is a law. If this guy was from Asia, there is the law that is saying, leave him the heck alone. Okay? He doesn't have to retreat. All right. If it's let's say Italians that came before you, leave them alone. He doesn't have to retreat. If it was people from Ireland, Irish, leave him alone. He doesn't have to retreat. Where are you going to retreat? You've been retreating for over 400 years. Why should somebody not leave you alone?
Okay, check this out, right?
Okay,
I don't.
that's where.
No, no, check
Hold
this
on,
out.
let
And
me finish.
I'm put it. I don't
Hold on, let me finish.
I don't
Let me
disagree
finish.
with it. I don't
Yeah,
disagree. I
okay,
don't disagree
let me
with it.
finish. I
Biggie,
haven't
Biggie,
finished.
let him finish.
I
Let him
haven't
finish,
finished.
Biggie.
Okay, where is this guy? This argument that you're making. Okay, all the other cases that we have had in United States that involves people of color. Nobody, you have to damn near demonstrate, damn near burn down a whole city before they make one single arrest. And once they make that arrest, they give him a bond and the guys go to court from his home. What is wrong with this case? Don't you see a double standard going on? And you're here making this argument.
Yeah.
Okay. The
Okay, you want
guy
me to
has a
answer that?
fear. The guy has a fear for his life. Otherwise, he wouldn't be walking around with a knife. Do you understand? He's somebody's. Listen, we have our kids out there. They don't tell us what they go through. But me and you knows that there is threat, there is racism in the society. The same racism that me and you feel, they do feel it. But they don't tell us about it most times. They know what they are feeling. Okay? If somebody didn't go out of their way trying to bully him to attack him, the knife wouldn't have come out. Do you know how long he's been carrying that knife? He probably must have been carrying that knife for eons. And he never brought it. It wasn't like he was walking around waving the knife looking for trouble. Somebody
Okay.
asked for it and it came out. Unfortunately, somebody lost their life. But don't come here and trivialize that this guy does not have any fear for his life
So check
because you
this out.
don't know what he's been going
Okay,
through.
so check this
Uh,
out, right? And I'm gonna
yeah,
say this because I see you're not a good listener. I agree with you 100%. I agree with everything you said. But check this out. But let me tell you reality. That's how I feel. But the reality is this. That boy is sitting in jail with $1 million bond with a fucking murder charge. And the only way that boy comes home is if they can legally navigate in a way that produces that result. So, and that's not going to be based on the way I feel, the way you feel, or the way anyone else feels. He is in a situation where he is fighting for his fucking life. And if I went in the courtroom, you went in the courtroom and mounted that defense, you can guarantee that boy is going to prison.
you got it all wrong. Let me
No, no.
tell you
So
why you got it wrong.
listen to what I'm saying. I
I
don't
hear you. Let
disagree.
me tell you why you
I
got it
just,
wrong,
but no,
though.
hold on. Listen to what I'm saying to you. I think maybe the comprehension is. I don't disagree with anything you said.
Yeah, but
No, listen to what
let
I'm
me tell you
saying to you. So
where I
no,
don't
listen
agree
to what
with
I'm
you.
saying to you.
Sir Jude, let him finish.
Listen to what I'm saying. But that is not what that hinges on in the court. I think the boy is going to be railroaded. The boy, if it's based on my feelings, hey man, open up the jail, man, let that boy go. I don't think the boy intended to kill the dude. I think the boy was scared. I think he may have even been in fear for his life. I don't doubt that. But this is the thing though, man, you gotta prove that shit in court.
I hear you,
Hey,
but
Big E. Hold on, Sir
let me
Jude.
tell you why. Let me
Sir
tell
Jude,
you
hold on,
why
hold on, hold on.
where I
Hold on,
disagree
Sir
with you a
Jude.
little
Sir
bit
Jude,
there.
real quick.
Okay.
This facts. This facts. Big
What?
E. I just put something in the chat under under subsections that you're talking about for Texas. And I found where he would be justified in his action.
Okay.
Just take it while Sir Jude talks. Just take a second to look at that.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Sir Jude.
look at my position here, okay? This is not this boy's only, this is not his fight. This is a situation that we people of color should rise up and make sure that he makes that bail. Okay, we in our community we can do that. This is what other races would do. They will get together and use this opportunity to assert their privilege. When are we going to start working and asserting our privilege? This boy, that bell should be made in a heartbeat. He should come out. Okay, he shouldn't be in there. It shouldn't be his only fight. This is our fight, and you guys got to see it like that. Because guess what? Other people will try to twist the law, try to interpret the law in order to suit their objective. We see it happen all the time. It's happening every day. It happened in Zimmerman's case and all the other cases out there. Why can't this guy, why can't it happen to him? The law, it can be interpreted in both ways in this case. If we don't get involved and say, you know what, enough is enough, interpret it to suit us, you're never going to get your black privilege in this country. If something will happen and hit the fan like this, and all of us, listen, let me tell you something, man. If any other race, you're never going to see them come out here and start debating if this is right or wrong. We are the only one that do that. If they don't have anything good to say about this, they will keep their mouth shut. If anything, they will side and say, listen, this boy doesn't belong there. They will support their own and they will make sure that their own get the best treatment. They will say he's 17-year-old, he doesn't have to ruin his life, yada, 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 self-defense. Boom, that's how they get that privilege. When are we going to start working for our own privilege? When our person goes in there, we left him hanging high and dry, and tomorrow it could be my son, it could be your nephew, it could be somebody else. If you don't fight for some of these things, you're never going to get it. How do you think that the Asians that they got the right that they have? How do you think that the whites got the privilege that they have? Because they asked for it and they defend it.
But check
When
this
are we
out,
going to
man.
start learning how to work on this system?
Yeah, check this out, right? I don't know what you talking about, man, because I don't disagree with it.